still have a lot of seats in the front. Please come forward so we have a cozy room, and ensure that the cold breeze of St. Thomas does not take us out tonight by ensuring that there's much warmth at the front of the room. Thank you, and let us open. Who's first?
Good night. The microphone behind you. Remember again, if you're planning to speak, we want you first to go over the PMO table, give them a synopsis of what you want to talk about. They'll also take a note because we will make contact with you afterward. They'll give you a number and you take these chairs, this row of chairs here, so that we can keep track of who is supposed to be speaking. All right? Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead. State your name first.
My name is Winston Archer. I'm concerned about
which district, Mr. Archer?
Allen View, please.
Allen View, thank you.
I was concerned about this for a while. It is about the nominations or whatever of JPs. I was asked, my query is, how are they chosen? Why are they chosen? Are there political appointees or appointments? Payback for support? Or meritorious? Or do you merit being a JP? I ask because I can count on one hand the amount of JPs in Westmore Hall, about 3, I think, and none in Allen View. And people are always approaching me, asking me to sign things for them.
Mr. Archer?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds an interesting question.
I
hear you
I'm
about
not
the
begging, ma'am.
absence. No. I wouldn't expect you to do. You are too decent a man. But what I do know is this, look, the process for justices of the peace, people apply, people are recommended. People apply and people are recommended. There's a form.
I don't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, people apply and people are recommended.
I didn't know that.
Periodically, the appointments are done. The Prime Minister's office will send up stuff to the President. It is now State House. And based on those recommendations, persons are sworn in. The last time we had people sworn in, I think, was about 14, 15 months ago, 16 months ago. And I would imagine that in another few months, you will get again. Part of the difficulty is that you will never have complete coverage either, because when you appoint somebody for a particular district and they move, they're gone. So we still try to make sure that we have as much coverage across every parish. It does not mean that you will get in every district, in fairness. And it's not a paid position, but it is a position that carries power with it, because apart from signing photographs and forms, etc., I believe that there are certain things that law enforcement officers depend on justices of the peace for. I am also hoping that we can get to a stage as we reform our criminal justice system to have those justices of the peace who go through training be able to deal with basic disputes in communities. Now, we're not at the stage where that can fully happen yet. Many of you would have heard us talk about alternative dispute resolution, mediation, conciliation. These are things that, quite frankly, we want to be able to train JPs and other lay members of the community to be able to do, to take the pressure off of the magistrate's court so that they can focus on matters that are of greater substance. Okay?
Yes, so,
thank you.
As I was saying, ma'am, I'm not begging for anything. Right? It's just an observation, right? So,
I'm sure that those who are in Allen View who want to go forward have heard, and that they can apply, or the MP can recommend, either which way.
That's why I was wondering if it was political. Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for opening the baton. Cynthia, you want to say anything?
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Leicester Vaughan School, and I want to thank you very much for coming. Mr. Archer, the Prime Minister has explained it to you, because there are people sometimes who approach, and then there are others who say, I don't want to if you approach them, because it is a very important responsibility, and sometimes the forms are complex, so some people say, no, I don't have time for that, or I don't want to. But I am glad that you've raised it, because I know that many people are calling now, and all I ask for is a CV, and there's a form that is filled out, and I submit it. That is the extent to which I can do it, and then all of the forms that will come in from across the length of Barbados, they then will be critiqued, and individuals will be able to get the call, because it has to come through from State House, through Her Excellency. But generally, that is the comment. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Kathy Ann Clark, Browns Gap, Jackson. Okay, my main concern, I know everybody has road issues, but Browns Gap has been deplorable for years. This is 46 years that I've been living there, and only last week, while I was home from work, I saw some men from MTW through the gap. I don't know if they came to repair the culvert there, so by Poogle Shop, those who are familiar with Poogle Shop, but that was a start, but nothing else, and water is settling there now. It's very, very deep. I haven't seen them as yet for the week. I don't know if they came, because remember I said I was home last week, but I wasn't home this week, so I don't know if they came. But that culvert that they started working on is very, very deep, and it's more damage now to the vehicles than before. So I need to know what they're planning to do there. You know, if they're going to make it a smoother way so that when the water runs from the gully, like behind Sister Marshall side, if it's going to continue to flood through there, or, you know, if they're going to make it better for the residents, also better for the usage of the vehicles. Because right now, I'm not even passing there. I'm taking a longer route out, right, which is an inconvenience to me, but I don't mind taking a longer route to prevent my vehicle from damage. But the gap of itself, from right there by the bus stop there, by where Pickering used to live, right through my gap, because my gap is the first after Poogle Shop on the left. Right? But I believe that right through Browns Gap needs repairing in a very, very serious state. But that's my main concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cynthia, I don't know if you want to add anything to it before I ask the officers from MTW. Hold on.
Thank you very much, Ms. Clark. You're referring to the date as soon as you pass Poogles by the community center. The
Correct,
community center,
yeah.
There is a terrible watercourse there. And it's only recently that I've seen quite a few houses in there now, and the water is gushing down. But MTW would have visited late last year with the minister and the crowd of us to look at it, because that water runs right into a well, but there's a lot of garbage and mattresses and so on it, and that helps to clog up the water. But I agree with you, because I went there only yesterday, you need to Poogles to pay him some money, and I did see it. Didn't go check in as such, but I saw it, and the dip is a serious dip. And I know that MTW would have been there sometime last week as well,
yes,
according to what
were.
the supervisor told me, looking to see how they can ameliorate the problem, because when that well is not cleared, that water then runs through the back by Stacey Cheltenham and those,
Correct.
and go over the other side of the street that is the Prime Minister's area.
Correct.
But always there is a lot of debris, garbage, household things, and so on, and people are building in the watercourse, and that is adding to the confusion that is taking place there. So the folk from MTW who are here may be able to respond to it. Mr. from the drainage unit.
Ms. Clark, I want to thank you from my side too. Because I carry MTW there, how many times, Mr. Tudor? Twice now? And we're still waiting for the work to be done. So rest assured that in these matters, that there is equity in sharing the burden across the country. So that just because I am Prime Minister, don't mean that the work get done by me first, because everybody gets based on the priority of how bad things were. I think we've said enough to let you know that because we inherited a lot of roads and a lot of wells and a lot of drainage issues, that it has taken us time. So, but I do know the area that you're talking about near Pugel's shop.
Correct.
I also do know that both Cynthia and I suffered for 8-9 years with unfinished roads. Me in Canewood Hill, and you cross out by the same Browns Gap, out to the top, by where Sean, by Sergeant Price's family. So
Right.
that those roads were started in 2000, Rockhampton Road, and Canewood Hill. They were started in 2007. They were finished or paused in February 2008, and they were never finished until here the other day.
Right.
So I apologize, because I know the people in Jackson have had to carry a lot of burden across the years, paying the price for the fact that perhaps 2 women was representing them. I don't want to put it to anything else. Mr. Tudor, you want to speak, or anybody from drainage? Who's going to speak? You decide who. Just identify who's speaking, and so the public knows. Thanks.
Good night. My name is Mr. Chandler, Senior Technical Officer in charge of the St. Thomas area. The work at Browns Gap has been started around last week or so. Really and truly, the road in that area, that short span, we spoke to the proprietor of the shop and the people in the area, and we allowed them to know that the road is going to be closed for a very short time, and the work is just ongoing.
What about the drainage?
Well, the drainage,
What
people
is
from
here?
the drainage unit will hear, they will have to speak to the drainage.
No problem, Mr. Yearwood. Come, please. Thank you very much, sir. You just got transferred.
Yes.
I know that. Thank you.
Operations to operations. Yeah. Yes. We visited there a couple of times. What the issue is, we found is that while we can clean the well on the property downstream, we are looking to do work upstream. The runoff comes from as high up as behind CCC, Old Caribbean Confectionery.
At the bottom of Shop Hill.
Correct, right. So there's a proposal to construct some retention ponds and wells within the watercourse that comes down to Browns Gap. Apart from that, there's a proposal also to construct a culvert under the road, because from the side of the house being impacted across the other side, there's no culvert. So
You
what
said
happens
across the other side, you mean across the
on
my
Jackson
side?
Road? Yes.
Across the my side? You
From
mean
one
the area
side.
that you all visit twice with me that's still not done?
It can be done. The thing is that the issue there
Thank you.
is about
I'm glad
services.
to hear that. It
It's
will
about-
sue me like the second coming of Christ. What I didn't tell y'all is that you visited twice in government,
Yeah.
but you visited about 3 times in opposition.
And so the water from one side, right, need to get across at a lower level, because it has to get over the road to get there. The issue is really that there's been more expense for moving services than it's upon the culvert, and then we have to do that on that project. Yeah? But I'm aware that there's also some thoughts in the ministry of providing sidewalk. Will it provide sidewalk along that road? I think.
There has to be. Look, let's be clear. Jackson Main Road has caused people to die and has led to people's limbs being lost. And this is not a joke. And we have said as a government that it has to be treated as a matter of urgency going forward. And that we hope that in putting in the sidewalks, the old building that was a public health danger is now down.
Yeah.
I trust and pray that the Ministry of Housing can work with the community to make sure that the people of Jackson can finally get a community center, because there is no community center for the people of Jackson and Arthur Seat going back. Secondly, I agree with you that if you can get a culvert to channel some of the water, because anybody who lives out in Jackson on both sides of the road will tell you that when that water starts to come down there and gush, look for cover.
Yeah.
Look for cover. so that this is an area that is meriting serious attention. The truth is that we as a government have had to look at other areas in the Scotland district, Mr. Tudor, and other areas that, as bad as I think Jackson is, and it is bad, there are other areas far worse. So that the government, in spite of the fact that both Cynthia and I have been arguing with this for a while, we still have to drink water and mind our business and put the priorities where you have people in St. Andrew and St. Joseph not being able to get to their houses at all, that those roads and other things have to be done. So I hope that we can see some work and a clear identification of the projects and the costings for it, please, Mr. Tudor.
Okay.
And Mr. Yearwood, thank you. Who's next? Evelina?
Good night, Madam Chair. My burning issue here tonight is one of drainage. While I appreciate the fact that the sidewalk was needed in the Sharon area by Sharon Church, the water coming down Shop Hill and coming down from Sharon used to be able to get into the into the gully and into the drainage area. Since that sidewalk has been built, ma'am, I am being flooded with water. To the point where the other morning I was in the yard feeding my dog, and the rain came and caught me in the yard for about 15 minutes. And on my way back into the house, the water was above my knees, and I was a little scared because crawling on the wall, I could see a centipede trying to get out the water too. And I tell myself, I wonder how much centipedes in this water. But the water came to my knees, and I have pictures to show you where the water level comes since that sidewalk has been built. And I would really like yes, there's a space for the water to run, but if I put my two hands together like this, my hands can't fit in the slot. So therefore the water needs somewhere to go. And unfortunately, I am the place where it comes. There's also a school of thought, but I am not qualified to speak on that the building of the Maria Holder also shifted the watercourse in that area. So I'm getting water from both sides. There's some days I can't come out because the water, if the rain set it for 2 minutes, I have problems. So I just need the area looked at. Admittedly, it is a private area, but the water rushing off the road, it eroded the entrance to the house to start with. But there's a well in the area, and for my almost 60 years on this earth, I've never seen the well cleaned. So that is a challenge as well. So I'm asking for help, drainage, please.
Okay, let us arrange for a site visit, Mr. Tudor. The bottom line is that just look at the geography of where we are, the topography of where we are. Everything is like that. And I think, Mr. Yearwood, when you talk about CCC, which is to the back outside there, you're looking to do upstream work, but I assume that the upstream work will take care of not just the Browns Gap, Rockhampton side, but also the Sharon side, because all of this is pushing the water back down, because everything is going downhill from Shop Hill right down. And in fact, if anybody goes under, if you go through Jackson Gully takes you also under the bridge. There's a part of the highway is actually a bridge. And the height of that underpass under the bridge is probably up to the height of those green banisters, well, what used to be green banisters up there. And you can see the water marks 3/4 up the height of the wall, 7, 8, 9 feet, telling you, because all the water comes down from St. Andrew and comes through the gully system and everything all the way down here, gushing, and then it goes all the way down through Rayside Quarry and all the way down to town. So that, Mr. Yearwood, where are you, sir? What is clearly required is some kind of comprehensive work. And when you spoke about the upstream ponds, I take it you mean for the whole district and not just the side by Browns Gap. Is that correct? Come and give Ms. King some relief here.
Yes. The area of Jackson is impacted by about 3 to 4 watercourses. You have the one of Arthur Seat, which comes down to Browns Gap. But it's also, hello? Just speak louder. Okay. Yes. The number of watercourses that impact Jackson. There's one of, in there, 4 to think of. One of Arthur Seat, the other one that comes off, what I call it, Melrose, and then there's the one that comes behind the church in the corner. And the church by, the same church we spoke about, Moravian Church? Sharon Church, right. The Sharon Church also comes to the back of the structural systems place, and they have really marginalized some of the area, but they have got a section to excavate to do some of that. So when you're looking at it from a watershed perspective, what's happening at Browns Gap is coming from the watercourse that comes through Melrose, yeah, up on the Edge Hill West. And we need to, yes, we look for watershed, because when we identify the works, we identify works through looking at where the watershed, where it's coming from, and areas that we can access and maintain. Because when we talk retention ponds, we have to not just build them anywhere or ask permission to go across. We have to get permission where you have access from a road or near a road, you can get into maintain. Some places, they're not enough space or they're narrow, but surely I will have to speak later in terms of exactly where she lives. It seems like she lives on the Edge Hill main road. On the, well, we'll speak to her on site visit. But that appeared to be on a road which will have to take with wells. Yeah? Because she said this, what she explained, the water can't get from the road into the well. So maybe constrictions in terms of the
Isn't the ministry taking a different approach to the cleaning of wells? DPM, you want to speak?
I think with the, good evening everybody, sorry I was running a little bit late. I agree, yes, PM, we've been taking a different approach with the wells. We're trying to get more and more people involved in the cleaning of the wells at this point in time. I think the ministry has struggled over the years, and Charles can certainly speak to that, with getting a number of persons to get involved in well cleaning. But we've put out the request for additional persons to come forward, and those persons have come forward, and the contracts are due to be issued very shortly for the start of this financial year.
Yes. So
Thank you.
the site visit is really necessary and solve that problem there.
Let us arrange a site visit and let us treat to the whole area, because as you said, it's a bigger problem than just what is going into Browns Gap. All right, and the gradient and the topography clearly shows it. Who's next?
Good night. My name is Gail Hoyt, and I'm from Shop Hill. And my concern, and my direct concern tonight, is our street lights in St. Thomas. We need lights in St. Thomas, Madam Prime Minister. Our districts are too dark at night. And you know about the gruesome, the crime and the violence that is happening within our society, and we need our lights. Some places we need our lights is from Barker Corner leading to Rock Hall, or Canefield leading to Erie Court, or Babies Lane to Lears, or Richmond Hall to Highland, and Lancaster or Jukes. These are some of the places that need street lights. Also, me too as well, they need a street light because they traverse early on mornings, and you know sometimes they gotta be running. So I would really need the street lights. St. Thomas need lights at night.
I hear you, and I'm sure that both the DPM and the MP can please facilitate. This is not a difficult request, so let it be done. DPM? Yep. Thank you. AG has joined us now, too, from Parliament. Thanks. Who's next?
Good evening, Felicia Cox, and I'm from Content. I begging for myself, but I also begging for the other parents and students of the Allen School, wherever y'all come from. Thank you for reinstating the St. Andrew's Church bus, but nobody knows when it's coming. Sometimes calling the station, the supervisor's demeanor could do with a little spit and polish. It isn't always that pleasant to call and have somebody act as though you are a nuisance, despite the fact that you're not only a taxpayer, but you're a parent looking out for your child's education. It's also difficult as a small business owner to not be comfortable getting into my work for the morning, knowing that I have to keep an ear out for my daughter to call me just in case the bus doesn't come, which has happened on numerous occasions in the past. I was very lucky, very recently, that as I was ready to walk through the door to go and grab her, the bus came, so I get away that day. But I don't get away every day, right? On top of that, the majority of the bus stops in St. Thomas don't have a bus shelter, and I would like people to remember that between St. Thomas and St. Joseph and little pieces of St. George and St. Andrew are the rainiest parishes in this country. I will have people know living where I live, even if the rain falls for 10 seconds at midnight, the rain falls every day on my house. My grass is never brown. So when my daughter is up at Barker Corner,
you're a lucky lady.
I know, but at the
Especially
same time,
though.
but I don't know what to say about the luck, because usually the gentlemen of the neighborhood aren't all happy that they're constantly cutting the grass. But you know, when you say A, you say B. You gotta take the lumps and grubs with the benefits, right? But the challenge obviously is when the children are standing, some of the kids get to the bus stop at 7 o'clock in the morning. Some children are trying to get to the bus stop at 6 o'clock in the morning to catch the early bus. When the bus doesn't come, and when I tell you it doesn't come, sometimes the children get left at the bus stop because the bus is so full. And then the next bus doesn't come until 8:30, 9:30 sometimes. When school starts approximately at 9 o'clock, by the time you get the bus, you're already late for school. And when it's compounded by the fact that you're standing in the sun, you're standing in the rain, sometimes you're standing on roads that even though they might not seem busy, we country, we know when the trucks trying to get up to the sand quarry or wherever they are going, it still means that we don't want our children standing up for hours on the street. Next thing you know, they get knocked down. Because I remember somebody that my dad gave lessons to getting hit by a truck in Shop Hill, and she died, and she was younger than I am. So the roads that our kids are standing on, with no sidewalks, no bus shelter, they're really not the safest place to be, and the longer they have to stand there, the more at risk they are. On top of that, when then I turn around and say, okay, let me take my daughter to school, the roads I have to travel on bring tears to my eyes. My poor car, I hear crying. She begs me, please, why are you doing this to me? What did I ever do to you? I give you good and faithful service every day, and you are taking me into this rural area with these roads that make me feel like I am going to fall apart, and I feel like I'm going to throw up. You are trying to mash me up. That's what my poor car tells me, right? So as funny as I am making it, because if I don't laugh, I will cry at this point. Most of the roads I traverse, with some of the bridges out, I had to go down through Dark Hole, which involved going up Fortress Hill, across the Lion Castle. And the potholes in those areas, especially with the construction happening for the university, would swallow my poor little energy-efficient car whole. They are so big. And I am sure I am not the only person in this room that is currently experiencing that reality. So some sort of ease I am begging for. Either let me be comfortable that my child can get this bus. She ain't gonna sit on the bus. I ain't that naive. I just begging, let it be reliable. The child actually wants to go to school. She doesn't even want to transfer from Allen. That's how bad it is. These Allen school children love that school. The teachers in general have to be doing something right if the children love the school and want to come. But we as parents are afraid that their education is really being compromised by the fact that sometimes they can't even get to test on time. And I even see kids on the street, and when I am going up with her, I will pick up other people's children because in my heart I'm too soft to leave them standing on the road. So we are trying to be one another's keeper, but we are asking the government to be our keeper too. We really, really, really need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. One, I think we've heard you very clear, as has the Deputy Prime Minister and the representatives of the Transport Board if they're here. Bottom line is reliability, and that's why not only have we tried to introduce improvements like cashless systems, but I think, Santa, you want to speak about the GPS and the other things that we're trying to do to bring greater order to the Transport Board and to the vehicles plying the routes, even if not publicly owned. And secondly, you might want to speak one time to the roads that are planned for St. Thomas for this year so that Ms. Cox don't have to beg them to swallow her up, and that can have some level of comfort that while we may not be able to do all one time, we're doing quite a few. Hold on.
Yeah, so very aware of the challenges that we're having at the Allen School. Certainly when I was minister, I felt very strongly that we needed some dedicated school buses for students. We've been in discussions through the ministry with education. The minister is here and can tell you that we've been having some very extensive discussions about how to improve the service to the schools. It is going to mean having a conversation with the schools and certainly parents as it relates to maybe either starting a little earlier or a staggered time or even going a little bit later, because I think this also has an issue that is arising in relation to traffic on the roads as well. So we're in discussion as to how to perhaps introduce some pilot programs to be able to ease some of the pressure that we are seeing taking places with the bus availability. We've introduced, this year we're going to have another 10 buses coming in by July. Prime Minister has also provided some additional financing so that we can get another 21, and we're hoping that we will get those for next year. And the intention, therefore, is to increase the electric bus fleet. We all know how smooth the buses drive, but they're not driving so smooth if the roads are not fixed as well. So that has been another challenge that we've been having, but with the start of the Scotland District project, I can list a number of the roads that we'll be working on. One of the roads will be under the CAF program, the Kean Garden to Bridgefield Road. The parliamentary representative has been ringing these roads in my ears for the last few months, and we've been able in this financial year with the 27 million to prioritize those roads. The Canewood to Prout area, that is also under the CAF. We've got the road rehabilitation over at Bloomsbury. That is going to be under the Complant project being executed by the Chinese. Also Hangman Hill, the Carrington Village area, and of course the Jukes area and Jack in the Box. There's also some widening of roads and footpaths down in Stony Gully, which is near the Welch's Post Office as well. Those are but a sample of some of the roads that we intend to start, certainly in this financial year. I don't know that it will address all of the issues in relation to the potholes and the worst condition of the roads, but we've had to utilize the monies that have been made available to us in phases and to try to prioritize a number of the roads that we've been getting a lot of concerns from. As it relates to the potholes, we've started a pothole patching program. close to the end of this financial year, and that's going to continue at the start of the next financial year. The truth of the matter is we patch the holes, but as the individual said just now, one of the challenges we keep having with respect to climate change is that St. Thomas in particular, the rain going to fall every single day. And it has made it very, very difficult. It has even narrowed the window even more in terms of the time that we have to spend on being able to do road rehabilitation, road construction, and pothole patching as well. We're getting a few more pothole patching machines to be able to ease some of the workers to within MTW, because of course y'all have been complaining about the slapdash way sometimes in which the pothole patching takes place. So we're trying to get the machines to be able to allow the work to be done a lot cleaner and hopefully to last longer. But all that said, I just want to continue to reiterate the point that the weather is also creating some challenges for MTW to effectively upgrade a number of the roads. But St. Thomas does not have to worry. It is high on the priority for the Scotland District project, and rightly so, because I have heard the honourable member mentioning time and time again how she has been neglected, and I am making best efforts to try to ensure that we address a number of the road concerns across the community.
Thank you. We're going to make sure that you nor me don't face double jeopardy. Who's next?
Before the next speaker begins, if you have already signed up to make a contribution, please take one of the seats in the center aisle so that we can keep moving. If you're planning to speak and you haven't done so yet, just go over to the table in the corner where there's the PMO sign, and they will sign you up and give you a number. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Madam Prime Minister, and good evening to the head table. My name is Michael Allen. Born and bred in Allenview, now straddling Hopewell, so I still maintain both addresses. In colloquial language, madam, I'm an alley boy, not giving up my rights at all. Serious. Just before I get into my main points, Madam Prime Minister, and I wish to say to you that I would maybe be on my feet for a few more minutes than the previous speakers. Let me say, I want to thank your deputy for saying that there are going to be some road rehabilitation in my parish. Madam Deputy Prime Minister, while you say so, I want to see it. I have heard it is in the budget. I've heard those catchphrases. That is not going down well with us.
Touch the man next to you in the blue shirt. Do so, put your right hand next to him, so that he will tell you that when you touch him, that is a case now of walking not by faith but by sight.
I'm sure, but ma'am, I'm not the man of Nazareth. So I can't perform miracles.
No, but he will for you.
Thank you kindly. Madam Deputy Prime Minister, I would wish to exhort you to stop this pothole covering thing. It is a colossal waste of the taxpayers' money if it's not done right at all. You want to take a walk with me from here to Bridgefield tomorrow morning, and you see an example of what is happening. That is only a microcosm of what's happening in St. Thomas, you know. That is only a microcosm. And look, you know what drivers do? When we get just past the police complex, and there's nothing coming from Bridgefield in sight, we drift to the right. It is as bad as that. we drift to the right because on the right it's slightly better than on the left. And our vehicles are crying out. So we would like to have action on these roads. Action. And let me tell you, Mr. Tudor, listen very carefully.
You know his name, Mr. Ali?
Yes. But yeah. He's. I suppose he's the fellow who can get shot at all the time. But I ain't gonna shoot at you. It is those people. The rain, as you said, the rain falls almost every day. So I'm saying to you, Mr. Tudor, listen to this very carefully. Major road work shouldn't be done in the R months. September, October, November. Because when you clear the, what we call it, screen the road, that's what we call it. And you start to put down this thing. And the rain comes down. All of that is washed away. So I'm saying to you, ma'am, for those persons who are you going to do roads, I think the time is now. You have to come and do it now because the rain is not that heavy. But when you see September and on, the place is flooded. Luckily, we have the gullies to take some of the water off. And then it goes down and gets all the way down to the Prime Minister's constituency, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the problem. So I'm urging you, ma'am, and I hear you saying, but I want some specifics. I am not going to be happy to hear it's in the budget and we're going to do it, okay? Transportation, ma'am. I am in sympathy. I don't have to use public transport. Well, I tried a minibus ride a couple of days ago to just get the experience. It was rather enlightening. I'm going to try it again, but not in a minibus. I'm going to try the new buses because I have my ID card, so you know, I can flash it and get on. But I want to bring this serious point to your attention. I noticed that when there's no rail transport board buses, top buses are sent on this road. My goodness, I get scared. The amount of people or children in those compressed buses, I literally shudder to think that they are going to go through St. Joseph, down to Dark Hole, and into St. Andrew. They are, totally overloaded. Those buses, I don't think, are equipped to carry that weight. If at all there is some maneuver or something so for the driver, we are going to have a catastrophe. So I'm saying to you, ma'am, see if you can ask your people in Transport Board not to send those, not at peak time. Send proper bigger buses so that the children competing with the workers can get into there and get home, because those buses are definitely not adequate for, it's a safety and health issue. But let me get to my other points, ma'am. Parochial, other than roads in St. Thomas. Madam Prime Minister, as I said, I born and bred in Allen View. And underneath there is where the cave is, Harrison's Cave. But let me first thank that fairy godmother or godfather who gave us a strip of road from the post office to the junction of Allen View. I don't know who it is, but I want to publicly thank them for relaying that strip of road. And maybe you could ask them, Deputy Prime Minister, to help you out in other words. But nice strip of road, and we are happy. Happy when it's there. But that's the extent of it. It's just the junction of Allen View. But, Madam Prime Minister, let me say this. The history of the Harrison's Cave has been blotted where the residents of Allen View are concerned. Promises, distress. I could add to disrespect. It's a checkered history. And there is need for some kind of firm action or commitment somewhere along the line. Sometime back, I heard again of persons will have to move from an island view because of the cave. I take that very seriously. I resent it because I am saying, ma'am, the cave was there for eons, and we were there for just as much eons. All the generations of persons were there, and we were existing peaceably and well. This thing about the moving every year or so, has caused us a lot of anxiety and stress. Some people now, having their parents left a little plot of land or something so, are being told, I haven't seen it in writing, but they're being told they can't build their house on it. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? And I'm saying that if we are talking about this constant, our policy is primarily on tourism, we are going to have a situation where tourism must exist along with the people. The people must be able to exist. Tourists come, tourists go. But the people are always here. And we have to understand that we just cannot be pushed as second-class citizens for tourists. I'm suggesting that incorporate village life among your tourism marketing plan or something like that. Show the people from UK, Europe, all over, how we live. This is how we live. And also, ma'am, we are talking about every day about food security. And I'm saying to you, ma'am, that the people around here, we were an agrarian society. Plantations, Hopewell, Ashford, Lion Castle, as far as Mount Wilton. We came up with them planting food. If you push the people from Island View who planted food, who kept animals, push them someplace, we can't do it. And we cannot be sure of our own food security. And I'm saying that this here stretches to the national perspective, that we don't know the food that we import, how that is grown, how the animals are nurtured and stuff like that. But we know our own. We know our own. So I'm saying that we need to exist side by side. And I heard you this afternoon speaking about a project, ma'am. And I wish to tell you, when we were growing up, you see Ashford Long Road on the two sides? If it wasn't cane, it was potatoes and yam. You know what it is today? All grass. All grass, ma'am. I want to see if you can urge you to speak to the owners and get back those lands in cultivation. We lost plantations all around us. Get back the lands in cultivation so that we are sure of our own food security. We can't depend on anybody else selling us food. And people talk about NCDs and all of that. But I am convinced that some of the imported food is the cause of a lot of NCDs in this country. Some of the imported food, madam. So I am saying to you, please, see if you can speak to them. And again, I want to emphasize that there is no reason that the residents of Island View should be pressured, should be stressed at this point of either not able to put up, in Bajan parlance, a little 2x3, or to be sent, moved elsewhere. There is no need for it. Let us sit down and have a plan of action where we can inculcate the tourism sector with us the agriculture of living and showing them the Bajan way of living. Let them come through. I see them often. They get lost sometimes, and we just redirect them. So I think that this thing about moving, I would like to hear the last of it. That is what I want to hear.
Maybe I should respond to you now before you go to your next point. The bottom line is that I am not an environmental engineer or a scientist. I don't pretend to be.
Neither am I,
But what I am is a person who is required to lead fairly and with fairness. And in those circumstances, over the 30 years that I've been in public life, I've heard all of the talk and all of the arguments as to why there can be no further development, etc. I believe, and I just came from seeing it again recently last week, and you'll hear more about that in a few weeks' time, I hope, that technology has developed. Now, I can't tell you whether it has developed sufficient to cause you to stay there or not, but I know we can find out. And if it has not, then I really do feel that where the government is saying to people that it cannot develop its land because of a national interest, then it has a duty to give and exchange the land with people. Do for do. Swap. You understand? Because you can't say to people that they can't develop in the national interest and then leave people literally to perish. So that I give you the assurance that there will be a conversation. I'm going to ask you for about 2 months or so, though, because as I said, I was just on a visit last week in Silicon Valley dealing with all the cutting-edge type technologies as we try to get on top of this climate crisis. I hear all the talk every month, and the reality is, and that's why I've asked the Ministry of Public Works to produce a paper, and I'm waiting on it, with new standards for a climate-driven world, a climate crisis world, because the culverts that were sufficient before will not be sufficient. The angles of the gutters got to change. There's a whole host of almost every aspect of your construction. And that is why, even with respect in some areas, the Deputy Prime Minister is asking with the Ministry for concrete roads in some areas because they believe that it will last longer, even though in the short term, they may be more costly initially. You kind of hinted at that just now when you talked about how you shouldn't be building too intensively in the rainy season, because as fast as you put it in, you're at risk of it getting pushed out by the rain and the floods coming down. So that one of the reasons why I want these, and that's why I tell you, don't get frightened that these sessions done. Number 12 coming next month, which is St. Joseph again. You understand? The bottom line is, one of the reasons why these conversations are important is that it allows me to speak with you and you to speak with us without 60-second sound bites and 4-column inches. Because your development and our development cannot be reduced to a 60-second sound bite for TV or the newspapers. We have to change how we live. Anybody ever travel on a plane and put the map up of the world when the plane traveling? Or go even on the internet and see it? So much of the map of the world is now brown. Not even green. Brown. Go and research and see, Mr. Leslie, tell them how much countries across the world got groundwater crises. We just come back from the major UN water conference last week, DPM and the Water Authority people. I see Mr. Boyce in here too. All of you all. And we have to have a level of education. I just finished speaking earlier this evening with some people who are working with us internationally trying to get our points forward. Because unless we access more money, we can't do the things in enough time to be able to adapt. I left Barbados last week. Barbados full of bushfires. I reached California with a tropical storm and all the trees down in Stanford University down on the ground. It was as if the world gone topsy-turvy. The wildfires of California were here, and the tropical storms of the Caribbean were there. The bottom line is that we have to change how we live. And even when I leave this office, I keep telling you, we're going to have to talk Bajans through it, community by community, household by household. That is why Barbados Water Authority trying to get the water-saving devices for the toilets, for the showers, and those things, because we're using too much unnecessary water in things. And if the Water Authority can give a low-interest loan, that somebody can get it done and get the water tank or get the water-saving devices for the toilets and the showers and pay back over a 2-3 year period onto the water bill, we need to help them do that. Instead of everybody going to town, going down in a car with one person, at some point we need to be able to see how we can carpool. I saw a wonderful story, and I tend to reach out to them, of the work being done at the university on biofuels. And if this thing is real, we need to be working with them to make it real so that there are more opportunities for people to fill up their cars with biodiesel and biofuels generally. I hear you so clearly, it is not funny. But we cannot do it by wishing it. And the conversations that we have to have, not just at this national level, but as we go back into Hopewell and Ashford and Allen View and all over, is to begin to get things changed. Food security you talked about, the government is putting $15 million in building a new tissue culture lab for agriculture. When they first came, they asked for a lab about the size of, let's see, half of this room. Not even a half, a third of this room. I said, to do what? If you're going to do a lab and to produce new planting material for the whole country, then let us do it. Whether it is sweet potatoes or peppers or whatever else they choose to do it. But we need to change the mindset. And that's why I say that with agriculture, if you look at it from a plantation perspective, people didn't want nothing to do with it. I can't blame them. You look at it from a perspective of technology and the investment of capital and skills, all of a sudden people want and realize that you can make money from it and we can export from it. So I give you the assurance. And a similar thing is happening in Trents. Because there are some people, for example, who own land down there, right outside by Whole Town, who want to put down PV farms. We can't do that without compromising how Whole Town can spread out. But equally, you can't ask them to carry the costs of national development. So that what I've said to the Ministry of Housing is find some alternative lots where we can discuss with them a land exchange so that they can continue with what they wanted to do with respect to the PV. With respect to Allen View, let us talk, because it is to my certain knowledge that technology is evolving. You may well get your wish, but they may equally say, no, we can't cover, or we can only release certain houses. When we first started talking about the Bell, Mr. Leslie, the results or the desire for everybody was much wider than it was. When the study came in, it turned out to be a much narrower piece of land that was affected. So let us have an up-to-date discussion, willing to take on the considerations. The last point I'll make is this. When we started to zone for water, we did it in 1965, the year I was born. The Cabinet of Barbados under Mr. Barra took a decision for zone 1 to 5 on the basis of biological contamination. Correct, gentlemen? It never took into account even chemical contamination. In 2007, August, under Owen Arthur and under Jerome Walcott, the Cabinet of Barbados agreed that that could no longer be the case. Fast forward, it took, when we came to office, the report still was not fully finished. It was then finished, and we started under Wilfred Abrams the consultations with the public of Barbados. And then COVID came, and everything shut down for 2 years. Santia is now responsible for making sure that that zones A to E, which have different criteria, not just biological contamination now, but also chemical, because there's some areas in which nitrate levels were a little too high, and it comes from livestock farming, it comes from a whole host of other things. But we are at a stage now where that has to roll out. It is going to unlock some lands that were locked off from development, and that will ease people. But in your case, I still maintain, and that's why we are having the discussions, pushing the science, pushing the technology, that there must be a way. When all is said and done, you know how much a Barbados sued? Wild guess. Anybody in here, not the water people, anybody call out a figure as to what percentage of Barbados is sued after 56 years? How much you said? How much? 20? Well, we'll be happy. 6%. 6%, Mr. Leslie, correct? 6%. That's all the Bridgetown sewage and the South Coast have covered. Now, we don't believe we can sewer the whole place because we don't have the money to sewer the whole country. And they may not even need sewering the whole country based on what the engineers say. But we do need some urgent action on the West Coast. We don't have money to spend $700–800 million on a West Coast sewage project. And that's why Dr. Seeley, God bless his soul, was sharing with Dr. Mwanza an approach that we believe is still viable with the digging of the injection wells and the holes, and then you would have a form of reverse osmosis involved in that would be far cheaper than if we had to build a whole new sewage plant. We are committed to doing the South Coast one because that right now is just literally filtering stuff and not treating it. Whether we like it or not, water is the new, was it? Water is the new gold, the new oil, the new whatever you want it. People going to war over water, and it is going to get worse. Now, by the same token, I've asked the Water Authority to also look back at the whole issue of the runoff. And AG, there are amendments coming to the Three Houses Act as well that will go before Parliament shortly. So I'm saying all of this to tell you that we cannot expect to live next week, next year, next decade as we lived in the past. The last point I'll make is this, and I'm glad the Minister of Education is here. I am going to personally make sure from the Prime Minister's office that we can have a set of prizes given out to every year group in schools. And all I want them to do is one of two things. They're going to watch Sir David Attenborough's documentary on the planet. And then those in each year group, where applicable, will do essays, and where applicable, some will do essays or audiovisual projects. And I will give the prize out for each year group. Tell me why you think I'm doing this.
Bring awareness.
Because when you understand what lies before us as a people, I almost feel for the young people in the world today. Because what the 2030s and the 2040s and the 2050s are going to look like is Gupma. And there's going to be a new class of migrant globally. We cannot continue to live like this. And I don't want my voice or a few people in the government voice to be the only ones coming out of Barbados. We need an entire country to change its behavior. And that means that where we can walk, where we can ride, where we can do other things instead of having to drive, let us change. It's better for us anyhow. I go to some countries like Dakar and in the capital city of Senegal, and almost everybody tin, and everybody walking. In Rwanda, the same thing. Okay? Similarly, we need, and that's why you hear Santia talking about our commitment with respect to the electric buses. The reality is, the reason why I'm encouraging the biodiesel and the biofuels is that we may not get the supply to do all the electric things because the world is not exporting that to us. And thirdly, we need to make sure, as I've said, every homeowner will have access to PV, but we have a problem, not Barbados alone, the world, because there's a shortage of lithium-ion batteries. That's why we're doing the feasibility study on pump storage in the Scotland district, because if you get the pump storage, and I am not a physicist, but by the water and the heights and the movement, you can then have the storage that will allow the level of stability that the light and power needs. That, however, will probably only account, if it is feasible, for about 30%, 25-30%. But what is good about it is that you stretch out the repayments over 50, 60 years. Whereas with the batteries, you're down to 7, 10, 12 years. And you're trying now to see how you can lengthen that. The United States of America has people connecting the PV, building out the PV systems. I can't get connect for 3 years. Cannot get connected for 3 years. Canada has a problem and a shortage with accessing it. So the whole world is going after the same materials. And that is why we're trying to see, because you know when you're small, you could get through holes that others can't get through. So what I didn't know personally, I learned as a country. You understand? Because I'm big personally. But I had to learn as a country that when you're small, you could be nimble and agile and move through. And that is where we're trying to go. So I'm sorry, sir, for taking up this time, but I feel that the conversation you were having, first to give you the assurance that as a matter of principle, that if your land is being utilized there for national purposes, then the moral and right thing to do is to be able to do a land swap, and if not a swap, a compensation. 2, this country has to change how it lives and what it expects, going back to the land and changing how we adapt to the climate crisis. And you'll hear more and more of this. But I felt that I had to share that and start to open up people's minds to what is possible and the changes that they may need to make. 3, composting. How many people in here can compost? Very few hands. So I've asked Wilfred, Minister of Information, to do a series of how-to videos, how to do X, how to do Y, how to do Z, how to do A. Because even in terms of raising stock, a lot of young people don't know what the older people know in terms of how to raise stock and how to plant and how to grow. So all of those things, you got to give back people knowledge again, because the fittest only will survive. And our ancestors survived because they were resilient. We have to become resilient too and stop believing that things are going to come straight down in our laps just as they did. Life was easy in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, first decade. But from 2006, 7, it started to change out. Okay?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, thanks, Prime Minister. Your promise is noted, and we await such discussions. But
give us 2 months, as I said, because I want to get some of the technology research done.
Yes, thank you. And hopefully we'll have a good chat. Right in your backyard, income tax, ma'am. 2 aspects. From a personal perspective, I would like to have my returns like tomorrow, because I've been waiting on them for quite a while, and truly I want to do some work on my roof before the hurricane season comes. So if you can release a few dollars to the revenue authority.
I will check out what's the problem, but to the best of my knowledge, they're processing them, so I will find out for you.
Ma'am, I've been hearing that for a long, long time.
And I don't know why yours was left out, but a lot of people get reverse tax credit. A lot of people get the income tax refunds. So let me make sure that your name may fall off the computer.
Well, I would hope not.
No, you think I'm joking, but I'm not joking. because things happen sometimes. So let me honestly find out, and we will track for you.
Yeah, because
Okay, but as far as possible, the government made a commitment to keep current with refunds, and we're trying to do that.
yeah, but in addition to that too, ma'am, I believe that the time has come that pensioners should not be paying income tax. I believe that we have made our contribution to where income tax is concerned when we were in the workforce. So I think that the few dollars that we're getting now to help, things are tough, Prime Minister. You will hear of the high cost of living, et cetera, et cetera. And we as pensioners do have to help contribute to the upbringing of our grands and stuff like that, because some of the parents don't have that capacity, so we can't leave them.
That's why we start back paying tuition fees at tertiary levels, so you don't have to help pay for that.
Well, I'm going to come to that.
Let's be real. I would love to give you more, but let's also get straight. Part of the difficulty that we are facing is that we will soon have a society. Our society is declining and aging, which is the worst combination. It means then that we do not have enough young people working to pay taxes. I didn't even get to Social Security yet. I didn't even get to Social Security. And that's why the National Population Commission has been going around the country last week, reporting to the country, because imagine this, if you don't have enough people paying taxes, how are you going to pay for the hospital? How are you going to pay for free education? How are you going to pay for the roads? How are you going to pay for the drainage that Evelina wants fixed outside her house? How are you going to pay for the recreation? How are you going to do all of the things that we want to do as a country? With all due respect, there's only so much in the pot. And that is why I make the point that Barbados is underpopulated by at least 100,000 people. We haven't replaced our population since 1980. So the hand that Tom Adams had to play, and the hand that Bree St. John had to play, and the hand that Errol Barra had to play, and the hand that even Owen Arthur had to play, has literally diminished rapidly in the last 15 to 20 years. And I go further. Owen had to manage this country without Paradise. I got to manage it now without Paradise and Haywards. And we're trying to get it back up. And we all know that all of the plans were put on pause. For how long? 2 years, 2.5 years? It's only now that people coming back on the Royalton project, they pause. They now say they're going to start back. Because everybody stopped in the tourism sector. So perhaps the point I'm trying to make is that I'm empathetic completely. And that's why I increase the income tax allowances from 40 to 45,000 here in the budget 2 weeks ago. I wish I could have gone straight to 50 or 55, because the reality is that 95% of the people who draw pensions earn less than $55,000 or $60,000 when the year comes. We will get there. But for us to get there, we need growth. For us to get more growth, we actually need more people. And we're going to have to make some decisions. We measure it year by year. You don't go and throw everything at it one time. But a little, what the old people tell, one blow is kill old cow. A little with content is great gain. Every year, we keep adding, we keep adding, we keep adding, we keep adding. And those are people who can work here or work international, but pay taxes here and contribute, because it's not only income tax that people pay. They pay VAT, they pay import duties, they pay excise duties. All of those things go to create the growth that will allow me to give you a little more trala. And you look so young that I think you're going to be long enough to benefit when the growth comes.
No, Prime Minister, your minister and I were at school at Holy Sister.
She looked good too, so what happened with you?
You understand.
She looked good too, and you look good. So I wonder what Holy Innocents did for y'all, got y'all looking so good.
We were under the expert tutelage of the gentleman.
Name, Mr. Vaughan.
That's what
he
happened.
taught you to live right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I really want to thank you for the conversation and for raising some issues. The issue of the land is something that has been bothering me for some time, and as I told you, I've started it with the people immediately outside the whole town. I feel that with your people here in Allen View, it is equally applicable, okay? By the same token, there was an issue to do with some royalties, and we can discuss that too, because fair is fair. If you keep the land, if you swap the land with government, well, no royalties. So it really depends on what people prefer to do. There may well be opportunities for certain types of agriculture, I don't know. But the conversation that we will have in the next 6 to 8 weeks will tell us all of that.
I'll leave you with this last one, Prime Minister.
Thank you, sir.
And it's right under your wing. You spoke eloquently about the restructuring of the SOEs. I want to add one other to that one, to that group, ma'am. Your cabinet. I suggest that you do the same thing. And the money that you will save will go towards the welfare department. The welfare. Because, Prime Minister, a lot of people are having tough times. And they are going to turn up more and more at the welfare department for your help.
But with all due respect, sir, you are a man who has lived for some time we've just established.
Yes.
You have heard of the statement, penny wise and pound foolish. Yeah? So that at the end of the day, come, I want to move this table here. I can't move it without dragging it. Many hands make light work. And the reality is that I've already cut the cabinet. And if we want to be able to deliver at the local level, at the national level, at the regional level, and to get the elbow room that we need at the international level to spend what we need and to get what we need, to suggest that I cut the cabinet any further is to make an emotive plea that will result in nothing other than a diminution of output.
I don't necessarily agree with you, Madam Prime Minister.
That's why you get the opportunity to look from outside and comment. I have the reality that I am now sleeping less than 6 hours every night because I literally, not me alone, have a cabinet that is working day in and day out in order, and it's not just the cabinet. With all due respect, Mr. Morris would tell you that it is also the public servants. And you now have public servants also doing at the senior level the job that 2 and 3 people would do in another country. Ask the AG. The Chief Parliamentary Council today felt for them. They're going non-stop trying to get all the orders before Parliament. The Ministry of Finance and the budget analysts, the same handful of people doing this, some here, P.S. Howard here, the same handful that doing this, doing that, and this and that, because in a small country, and that is why there may well be a case 15, 20 years from now, remember for all who young, that people will argue that there is a size that states should not fall below. Because we have all of the obligations of large democracies, while at the same time having nowhere near the people capacity or the monetary base to do it. And until we start to speak truth to situations in this country rather than being lulled into a populist type of approach, we are going to reap what we saw. That's what happened with the last government, you know. The last government said, oh, we love you, we love you, we love you. And then we're keeping you employed and not a cent else ain't getting paid. And all of a sudden, you're the 3rd most indebted country in the world. How does that help you? There was a man called Lee Kuan Yew that Errol Barra used to quote all the time. Go back and read all of Mr. Barra's speeches. And Lee Kuan Yew made the point, and we ain't even going there. Lee Kuan Yew said, I want to pay top dollar. I am going to match or outmatch the private sector for my cabinet because I must have the best people in the country. You think if we come out here and tell people that we want to do that, they'd be just say, well, you mad? But the reality is that if you don't get the best people and sufficient people carrying the weight, not just in the political class. You heard me in the budget speak at length about the need for training and repositioning for us to be world class by 2030. What made the difference in Barbados was the quality of public service and the quality of politician. If you fall on both, then the country will inevitably fall. And then you will complain that things rough. Things rough for older people, because you're not attracting the investment, you're not attracting the immigration, you're not attracting the people to do the things to build out the growth that we need. And you still want everything that we had 40, 50, 60 years ago, which we want to give you. Because for us, education is at the core of the upliftment of people in this country. But these are the difficult discussions. And when I say I'm not running again, it's not that I don't feel I got something in me. But I feel that I have to talk this country through some very, very difficult decisions in the next 3-4 years. And if I allow politics to get in there, rather than remaining focused on repositioning this country, Barbados will not rise. Now, I feel that not only do we have the ability to rise, but we can do and go to the top. But it's not because of me or any cabinet alone or the public service alone. It's going to be everybody pulling weight and doing the right things. So I hear you, and that's why I say penny wise, pound foolish. Sometimes you go thinking that this is the answer, and you end up, this thing dropped through the cracks, that thing dropped through the cracks, that thing dropped through the cracks, because nobody in there to monitor it. And with all, tomorrow morning I start at 6 o'clock with a democracy summit with 40-something other world leaders globally. And at the end of the day, you can't say you're not going, because at the end of the day, when we want to be able to go and make the point, the Bridgetown Initiative is to give us the elbow room to do the roads in St. Thomas, to do the water pipes in St. Lucie and St. Peter and St. Andrew that gone brown. All of these things, and we don't have enough people paying taxes alone. So when Santia got the $80 million in grant money, I sure the Water Authority give thanks, hallelujah. Because you didn't have, and I didn't have to pay taxes to give them that $80 million. It's the only time I know Barbados get $80 million in grant from anybody since being independent. But that requires doing the heavy lifting. So I hear you, my brother, but I have to defend my cabinet. We have already made adjustments to the size of it. After the last election, I heard you, but equally, I know what it takes to carry. It is like me telling an electrician, hey, you left them tools down there, you can get one tool to walk with. And if you can't fix and wire this house with the one tool, too bad for you. Can't work.
I hear you, Prime Minister.
Thank you,
but I don't necessarily agree with you. But we'll have that conversation some more.
I expect you not to, because he who wears it feels it. And he who walks the road knows it. And she who does will not only know it, but can talk about it.
Yeah, I do understand. And there are one or two other points that I want to raise with you when we meet in Allenby.
I look forward to that, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good night, everybody. Madam Prime Minister, Ms. Ford, how are you doing? Prime Minister, I must give you thanks for being so famous all over the world. My name is Noel. I'm from Bridgefield. Went to school at Sharon, sorry.
What's the last name? Noel who?
Brown.
Noel
Brown.
Brown.
Yes, I'm Paula Hines' brother. Famous Paula Hines, the singer. Sorry, I'm a little hoarse today.
With a world-class voice.
Yes, thank you.
But you're hoarse.
You
can sing like her too?
Yeah, I'm a little hoarse today, but I'll try to make my best of it.
But you can sing like her too?
Sometimes. Yes, I want to talk about the potholes in Barbados. I live overseas for many years, and every time I come back, I see the work that's being done is being done very shabby. I want to know that if the people that do the potholes, if they are trained properly, or if the management that tell them to go and do the work know how to do the work. Because up there in Bridgefield, where I'm from, forgive my hoarseness, they just take the asphalt and they just put it on the ground and they're going along and the next day there's a big old bump. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. Thank you, Ms. Ford, for teaching me at Sherman. Okay, and the way how things are being done is you got to train people the right way, get the management to go out there and make sure that the work is being done properly. We spend a lot of money patching roads, which we don't need to do. Okay? Another question is Mount Hillaby. I would like to see Mount Hillaby develop as a tourist site or destination. You know, I would say for a month I drive around Barbados, and Mount Hillaby can be a tourist destination, you know. The taxi men complain a lot about it because they take the tourists over there, but they need some, you know, brightening up. If they can do something, you know, make the place much more presentable, that will also help us from the tourist side of it. Next thing also, yes, the electric buses are good. As I said, I'm a mechanical engineer. I would like to see we utilize the sun to get more PVs in different locations so we can charge the buses. We're spending a lot of money charging the buses down in Transport Board, Weymouth. Yeah, if we can have like hubs throughout Barbados, you know, I could come back and help do it. That's my job. If you want to hire me, you know, and that will save.
And nothing wrong with that, sir. I'm sure that the Ministry of Public Works will take your information to see what you can offer. Interestingly enough, though, the Transport Board is looking at getting into PV because ultimately it needs the revenue from PV to help offset the maintenance of the terminals, etc. Yeah. And they have locations, all of the bus terminal routes. They then have Mangrove and they have Robert Street, and they can do swaps with land if those areas are not sufficient. So you're not talking foolishness. Okay. And we'll continue.
Okay, next thing I would like to see is the Waterworks Department work closely with the MTW. There's a we can't call it a pothole, down by Spring Garden. That's where I'm staying right now. Somebody dig a whole line of the road down there. I call MPW.
You and many others, yeah. and Public Works needs to explain why the premier highway going into Bridgetown remains unpaved. So I'm sure that they'll answer and let us know.
Please, you know, I would like to see Barbados get better. Okay, people of Barbados, we all need to respect one country. Stop throwing trash in the gutters. It's ridiculous. And also to the AG, please, those minibus men, some of them need to be locked up. They are ridiculous. We ride the bus just to be local, and they are ridiculous. They get in traffic move, but sometimes they stop commerce by dragging, I think you call it dragging, and then the whole road block up. Please, you know, and the public, stop letting the minibus men drive you guys reckless. Today we come up in the minibus, the guy went through the back of somewhere and all, you know, because there's that Green Hill Road all backed up. So please, I love Barbados. Let's all work together and put Barbados on the map. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Just wanted to say thank you to you for raising this issue of what I consider to be what is killing us at times, which is the lack of supervision. It is something I've raised, I've held a lot of licks for by saying that I report what the people tell me in terms of what their concerns are when they see workers not doing what they're supposed to, or even the supervisors not doing what they're supposed to. And that is why I know Prime Minister has raised it in the budget, the 1.5 million that has been put towards improving the supervisory management across not just MTW, but across government. Because we are realizing that things are not getting done the way they are supposed to. we putting out a lot of policies, there are a lot of things, the good things that are to be done, but then nobody is supervising. So when I say talk about the slapdash approach, it is not to say that every worker in MTW behaves that way, but it is to say that all of you will come to me at some point in time and mention a road and the way in which those road works have been executed. And therefore, we have taken made a concerted effort to try to put this training now in place so that people are accountable. Because if the leadership does not know what the pothole patching is supposed to look like when it is complete, then we have a problem because somebody has to lead the people who are working. So I take your point, and I know that we have the funds now to be able to start to put that program in place.
Thank you, Santia. Who's next? Well, I can easily tell you, I just came from Chalky Mount, and I met with RDC there, and a house was being repaired for somebody who is mentally challenged. And this government is not going to tolerate shoddy or untimely work from people. It is not fair to the people who have to live in the houses. It is not fair to be taken forever to have it done. It is not fair for doors to have spaces and windows to have spaces and cupboard doors put on wrong and no vent for toilets and all kinds of madness. The senior minister was with me, and I've asked RDC to also report who was supervising the job, because I can't blame the contractor, I got to blame the person supervising the job. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to be looking out for the public interest. And until we hold people accountable for those small things, they're going to continue to let people get away with murder. It cannot happen when things tight.
Hi, good evening. My name is Wayne Hoyt. I from the Jackson area. One of the issues is the road network within the industrial park area, from the Warren's East Industrial Park area. Recently, there have been two, well, one is about complete by now, construction sites there. And where they're located, they had to excavate below the road surface. So at that point, so while you're driving through there now, what you can see is actually like a drop and on the side of the road. If you're coming from Watercourse Plaza, on your left hand, First Caribbean, then there's this recent excavation that was done there, and there's no sidewalk, no barriers basically for the protection of either pedestrians or traffic in case someone falls asleep behind the wheel or wherever you're going down. So I want that to be addressed as part. I see actually this evening the site, which is lot 29, they're actually doing some work at the edge of the road. My thing is NTW involved at this stage so that either sidewalk goes into place there or the drainage actually is addressed, because where they're located, before it was excavated, when the rain fell and you get a gush of water come down, a lot of water used to divert on that lot. And in recent times, when they excavated, we found that a lot of water was down inside there as well. So my thing is where the drainage for that entire area, which runs from Watercourse Plaza straight over to Chancery, right? If that's going to be addressed anytime soon, also in that area, then lighting is also poor as well. Right. One of the other things I would like also address in that area is the utility companies, preferably the telecommunication companies that have all these loose wires hanging from their poles and stuff like that. It looks ridiculous. That's something I would like to see addressed. Also, in that same road, the road needs widening, and I believe if we put sidewalks through there, the road is used a lot also for actually this entire network of road around the industrial area here at King Garden, the Warrens, the walk at Welch's. A lot of people use that whole circuit for walking. So if we can actually have sidewalks put in there and the actual roads actually addressed in terms of being upgraded, repaved or so, for some of the areas widen as well. so that it's a smooth traffic, because we have a lot of traffic in that area, especially in the morning period, where people come from Welches and come around Padmore Village and come down Chance Street, down Arthur Seat Road to get back onto Jackson Main Road. There's a lot of traffic through there during the morning and the evening periods as well. So if we can have that area looked at, I had asked Ms. Ford to come see me, that I should actually show her what I was speaking about. I know she was busy. And then, like on the Jackson Main Road, 2 sidewalks as well, as the Prime Minister mentioned earlier. As part of that is her constituency, and she knows that well.
I'm glad that you're talking Mr. Tudor's ears. You can whisper sweet nothings to me on it. I might get it soon.
Mr. Yearwood did a fantastic job for me in recent times, where he addressed a well. Remember the well at Jackson? Right. Where the well used to keep filling all the time, and the water's running into my yard. So his team came and they addressed it. It took a year basically, but it was addressed, and I'm thankful for that. And also, I also want to say thanks to the team also at the depot as well, Miss Greenidge and Miss Reed over there, who when you call them to say, they need a patch or so, they respond as well. But the patchwork is not good anyway, because we get, as previous speakers said, we get a lot of water in that area, and it's always dredging up all the time. The other issue I want to address is the traffic that leads from the Jackson into the Warrens area. I find there's a lot of congestion near the polyclinic area, where those where the minivans and buses converge at that bus outside of the polyclinic. And if that could be addressed, I understand, yes, that a lot of persons use the polyclinic, so therefore the bus stop is important, being there in that location, but the congestion is ridiculous, especially in the morning period. Especially the whole day, basically, is actually ridiculous. And if that could be addressed, recently I heard a call for someone for a bus hub in the Warrens area. I'd like to add to that. I would support that and add that there should be 2. Actually, one at the Cost-to-Less area over there in Welches as well, so that we can have the buses that traverse us here, especially ZRs and stuff, because if you realize, all of them say Jackson, Warrens, and they all come and they follow one route, which is come up the main road, go through Quarry Road, into Arthur, into Melrose, up to the junction here at HL, turn back around and come back down the same road. But there are other roads within that whole network where I believe that if we redesign the routes, that we can actually have these vans spreading out accordingly. So, for example, if you want to do it like a Jackson Warrens, that van can come, you could go 2 ways, either go around the Warrens area by Simpson Motors or Inchcape, that area, and come around to the walk, and they can let off people there, like say by Cost-to-Less or so, and then they can come back on through Padmore Village, Chance Street, and come back on to Jackson. That would be one route. And then you can have, say, like the Arthur Seat Melrose Road, where the vans come up Jackson Main Road, go through the quarry into Arthur Seat, and then they can come back down. So you don't have all the vans running in one place, and then people have to walk, from, like, say, by Watercourse Plaza straight over to the to Chance Street or so, after they get off a bus. So yeah. Because that could be a solution in terms of how these vans are listed, the routes that they're on. That could be something that could be addressed as well, so that it's not all this congestion. If there are 50 vans up here, they should be all running in different road networks around the area. I see that the director of the Transport Authority is not only listening earnestly, but she has nodded a few times while you're speaking. Oh, okay. So I would like to suggest that you follow through, and maybe, Ms. Holder, at some point it may be good to do a walkthrough with some of the residents in the area to see how we can improve it. The CTO, Ms. Bennett-Innitz, I saw you here earlier. Where are you? You're in the back there, right, next to Jason. Bottom line is we're waiting on some traffic recommendations from them soon, and we have also said to the Deputy Prime Minister that the deal that was negotiated in the settlement of the
what they call it, the overpasses by the Attorney General, also had indicated that the government reserved the right to relook at it, but with less overpasses than originally committed. And the beauty, as I understand it, of that is that it will allow traffic to flow freely across the highway and not be interrupted by the traffic coming down from Sharon, Sam Jackson there, Huddersfield turn-in, Neils, all of the points, St. Philip when it coming right down,
Yes,
you know,
it's,
back
it's
all
really
the way
bad.
up.
It's really bad
So
in the
the
morning.
truth
period.
is that we do need something that goes straight, but we have to look at different models because Barbados also still is managing all the competing interests.
Okay.
So I'm giving the Ministry of Public Works time to submit the traffic study. I've told them that it's the next big issue that's going to hit us, and we need to change. You heard me speak earlier about why we need to change our habits too with the climate crisis. So I thank you for the thought. And the truth is that people like you living in the area, so you will see in it, living in it, experiencing it every day.
Every day.
And therefore you have given thought to it. And to take the time to come here and to be able to articulate in the clear way in which you have articulated, I want to salute you and thank people like you for coming forward and adding to the public quality. So the least that we can do is to have members of the Transport Authority meet with you and make sure that we can look at it. As it relates to the unfinished work, the excavated work there by the Warren's Industrial Park, Mr. Tudor, if you can have your officers go and see what's happening there and report back, and the point of no barrier, no sidewalk going down, I think you've heard Mr. Hoyt, and see what we can do.
One of the other areas there too that looks like a hazard as well is if you come off of Rockhampton Road there by town, and you, if for example, say for example, your gas pedal stuck, you're going right into First Caribbean Car Park, down. So that's what I'm saying. There's no barrier there, no strong barrier. Basically, there's a fence, but nothing significant that, you know, that can retain a collision or anything like that. So that's something I need look at on the sidewalk and stuff. One of my other points is regarding like health. I just want, in terms of what's happening in terms of the QEH and the reporting on things like x-rays and stuff like that. I want to say like last year, June, my mom had a x-ray done, and we only got back the results here in February. Right, in February. Right?
That's not good enough.
Right.
Let us investigate it.
The reporting is not, we got the x-ray done, but the reporting, and this is not the first time, right? Subsequently, she had one done in October, and up to now we haven't got the result either, right? Furthermore, I want to say this here.
I'm going to investigate it,
I want to say
because I
this
don't
here.
understand why
Based on the results of the x-ray, you know, the doctor asked for further investigation, which means that she has to get a CT scan now, all right? And in doing that, the doctor recommended we don't get it done privately, because then if you have to wait so long to get a report, God knows what can happen with it. So therefore, we're trying to gather the funds now to get that there done privately. And I just want to know if the only...
Sir, Mr. Hoyt, don't send them more. Don't send them more. Let me investigate it, because I cannot accept that an x-ray done will take 3, 4, 5 months for somebody to do a report. So let me investigate it. On the last occasion in St. Peter, we were also told about the increase in prices for colonoscopy. It turned out that that is for private colonoscopies and not the public ones.
Right.
So that's why I say that I listen carefully. Roy will tell you that the one thing we do is follow up, follow up, follow up. So I give you the assurance that I will check it out, but there is no reason why you should have to go and wait for 5, 6 months. For all kinds of reasons, it's not good. So give us the opportunity to investigate it, please.
I was even there last Thursday with the eye clinic for almost 5 hours. right? Because they could not find my mom's file.
As I said, give me the opportunity. Part of the difficulty at the QEH is since the cybersecurity attack, I can't tell you if every department is operating at optimum levels again. Give me the opportunity.
I was told they were short of staff.
Well,
we sat there for 5 hours.
People can tell you all kinds of things.
I know, I understand that.
I've learned, people have called my
the
name fast
the communication. If the file is not available,
then
right,
they should have told you from early.
From the time you put the card there.
Agreed.
Right? So
and there's no excuse. There's no excuse for that.
Right? So these are things that need to be addressed. But one more point I want to...
Just let me finish, please,
yes,
sir.
please.
Please. There is no excuse for asking people to wait for 4 or 5 hours. Just as there is no excuse for not taking time out to listen to people. I try to answer everybody. If you come to me and you want to speak to me, within 5 minutes I can know whether I can deal with it on the spot or if I have to ask you to come back to another thing. I use the phrase, and I use these phrases that we learn in primary school for a reason. Do unto others. Do unto what? As you would have them do unto you. So I'm not going to pass judgment here, but I do say that I will investigate. And if it is that we are keeping people inordinately long, then I will ask people to apply common sense. There is nothing that could cause you to cause somebody to wait for an hour and you can't find the file. If after 20 minutes, half hour, you can't find it, you say, sir, I'm not able to find the file today. Would you mind coming back at X date at X time?
I find that has a lot to do with, the systems that are deployed in these places. Where is the management? Where I can say, well, this is what happens in this event.
Well, we just talked about supervisory management.
Correct.
And that's why the government voted today $1.5 million to spend. No, I'm not getting rid. And let's be clear, people deserve a chance. Let's have one meeting, please. People deserve a chance. If you don't know, I'm going to assume you don't know the correct thing first, and you are taught and trained. I'm going to assume it the second time. But you see, number 3, that's recidivism. You know what recidivism is? Doing the same thing over and over and intending not to bother, but whether you get catch or punished or not. So at that point, it changes. But I am also very, very clear about the cultural profile of Barbadians. You see how I had to ask you all to come in the front and most of you still ain't come? Look how many chairs to the front still empty. Because there is a cultural disposition that we have not to want to get called out or not to want to get embarrassed or not to want to get your name be up front. And people just go in the back and allow others. Part and parcel of that disposition is going to hurt us. Because at the end of the day, better to make a mistake than to do nothing at all. You understand? Mm-hmm. If it's fraud, or is murder, or is rape, then stand account on first charge. If it is other things, or mistakes, or incompetence, or people don't know, or they haven't been given the opportunity to learn, or they got it, but they ain't quite get the rhythm of it enough, give them a chance and live and let live. But after 1 and 2 times talking, you're then telling me what? That perhaps another job might be the best place to go. Mm-hmm. Because everybody got strength, And some people's strength may be that they're pleasant. And in a country that makes its money from tourism, we need people to be pleasant to a lot of people, but here, not true?
It's true.
But not everybody is in the right job at the right time. So that I want the country at all levels, in the public and in the private sector, in high places and in low places, to understand that the first thing we need to do is to break down the job. What is it that's required of me? Mm-hmm. If you are servicing people coming to you, the first thing you have to be is what? Polite and engaging with the people. Secondly, if you can't deliver, what do you tell the people? Speak honestly. There's not every question. Look, the gentleman just now wanted me to tell him that I could give him more pension. I can't do it at this stage. You understand? And what we did was we regraded it when we could. We put the additional income tax allowances when we can, but it is not everything that people want that they can get. And that's why we start with people's needs. What is essential before we get to people's wants. So I hope, sir, there are a number of others who want to speak, but I hope that we have been able to work with you on both the infrastructural and on the medical issues. I give you the assurance that I will check it out and get back to you on the x-ray reading. And with respect to the length of time, I think all of us have heard our position on it, that it is unacceptable.
Further to the medicals, this is at the polyclinic. This has again to do with the actual infrastructure as well. If you go to those that facility, you realize that the washroom facilities are not adequate for the elderly or disabled. Basically, they don't have things like handlebars and safety bars and stuff like that. They don't even have toilet seats. Basically, and lighting is poor. Some they don't have toilet paper, hand wash, nothing like that within the.
With all due respect, I am going to speak to the people.
These things are management issues. Basically.
There are basic supervisory and management issues.
Correct.
The government is spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year. I take the point on the handrails, and those have to be installed. But if a toilet seat is broken,
$25.
Good. A toilet seat broken. What are you going to do? Somebody must raise it. Because if I ain't going to the bathroom or I'm not going into Eunice Gibson Clinic, I won't know that the toilet seat broken.
Correct.
So that whoever is responsible, just small things. And that's why we talk about changing the culture. And that's why these meetings are important, because we're not here to crucify nobody. We are here to do things better and to recognize that we have a responsibility to each other. Okay? So thank you, Mr. Hoy.
Just one more point.
No, one more again. Not tonight. Because look how much more people
there. I can come and speak to you after?
You can speak to me anytime,
give me your number, I'll call you. We can talk overnight.
Use a Jackson man. You know, I ain't promised to talk to you tonight, though, because I went all night last night or all night tonight, and I got 6 o'clock in the morning. The democracy. But Cynthia will talk to you tonight. Yes, sir.
Good night, Prime Minister and ministers and everyone here. For those who don't know me or heard me or seen me on TV, my name is Ian Gibbs. Prime Minister, there are a few comments I would like to make, and these comments are not geared towards only the people of St. Thomas, but to Bajans in general right across the island. And the first deals with, and you mentioned a little thing about it earlier, by the way, is the whole topic of registered retirement savings plans. Now, these plans, successive governments over the years have begged Bajans right across the island to start their own registered retirement savings plans. I believe in an effort to reduce the burden to some extent on the NIS and to provide some degree of income for pensioners in their twilight years. Yet, when persons, pensioners across the island who have started their own plans, registered retirement savings plans, and have inched and pinched and scraped together the money over the years and saw it grow and increase, when they reach their retirement age and they go to withdraw this money, they are faced with a monumental shock, like myself, because I'm a pensioner as well. Now let me give you an example. Say someone who has been able to save over the years and watch it grow and get a registered retirement lump sum of, say, $100,000, which is not a lot of money in today's scenario. You are asked to, when you go to reclaim that money, to give government in the form of tax a whopping $17,000. Prime Minister, I don't think it is fair. I think it's too onerous. I don't know if you will be able to totally remove it because of the situation we are in, but I am asking if you could possibly think about reducing it. It will be of a great help to pensioners across this island who are seeing hard times. And I get that from people on a daily basis. And you would get it from people on a daily basis as well. So please consider. The second one is the tax on dividends. Similarly, when people have managed to invest some money here and there during their lifetime in purchasing shares, and this particularly is for pensioners as well. It is for everyone, but it's more burdensome on the pensioners. You are asked to pay 15% tax on your dividends. And these dividends are often a major source of income for the pensioners. So please, it was changed from 12.5% to 15%. So please consider what you can do about that as well. Again, it will be a help to the pensioners of Barbados. Okay?
That's why we need growth. And with growth, it gives me as Minister of Finance more options.
I agree. But if you can, please consider.
A reasonable request, and I think y'all have seen enough to know that even when we can't act today, when we can act, we act. And part of it is we would have expected to move into a growth trajectory at the beginning of 2020. And you saw what happened.
Yeah.
And that is why we have committed to introducing also the reverse mortgages, because we understand that in some instances people will also need a lump sum of money to fix up the same house or to do other things, because things rough all around.
Right, and when you take a big bite out of it,
exactly.
you can't do what you want to do.
And in most jurisdictions, there's a cap on 50%, 55% of the value of the house up to what you can get back in terms of equity. But I hear you loud and clear. There are some things that we need to be able to do. We're not living in an easy environment. You heard me say in the budget, the issue of the corporation taxes and the global minimum corporate tax has to be addressed by us in the next 3-4 months. Whether we like it or not, that is responsible for probably about 15% of our revenue. And we don't know where it will end up once we finish. That's why we're doing the consultations now with the companies. We don't know who will leave the jurisdiction, who will stay. We might end up better off, but we could equally end up worse off. So I'm asking people to allow us to play bat and pad close together for the next year or so to ensure that we at least see where the lie of the land will be with respect to other aspects of taxation over which we have no control. That is why we want to be able to get the delivery of healthcare and education and infrastructure up to par, because we don't pay as high taxes as they do in Europe. In Europe, some jurisdictions pay 40 and 50% taxes. but they get back a lot of things socially. In the US, it's the other way around now. And what are you seeing all through the US but tent cities, homeless people living all about in every city, summer and winter. So it's a balance. It's not an easy time, but I hear you, and we take note.
Yeah. My next point, Prime Minister. At a meeting that I was at, and you were there, one of the things you mentioned was this new sweet potato project. And you've talked about it several times since then. Up to yesterday, I think I heard it, you mentioned something about it on the news. Now, at that particular meeting, Prime Minister, if you recall, I asked you for some details on it. And you told me that I should get into contact with the officer in charge of the tissue culture laboratory of the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, having tried for 2 weeks to get the lady there, I finally did, and she promised to send me some details about the project. That was a few weeks ago. And today, nada. Subsequently,
I can come in and say at the meeting, because you as a former employee of the Ministry of Agriculture and the current employees of the Ministry of Agriculture need to sit down and talk properly.
Right.
And if I have to come and bridge the gap between the former and the current, I will do so.
no problem. You know where I am anytime.
Because y'all, and I am in some tall grass. 'Cause I am not an agronomist. I will listen to competing opinions just as I used to listen to Dr. Celia and Dr. Mwanza. So
Fair enough.
come and let's get everybody
Fair
together
enough.
around the table.
Let me just add on one little
But they should have responded to you. And I'm sorry about that.
It's not only her, Prime Minister. Subsequently, I was in contact with the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, and again asked him for the details of this project. And lo and behold, nada again. So, you know I do a weekly program where I talk with the farmers across this island. How can I tell them?
I am sure that the minister will do better. He will even come on the program with you.
I don't mind. That would be great. It would be great to have him there.
So let us organize. Even if I have to come and
Be
mediate.
great. I mean, how do I tell the farmers across the island who are looking for opportunities to make some money? And if it is so in this particular project, let me get the information. No, it's a state secret.
Mr. Gibbs, trust me, you ain't gonna talk no more. We will speak to the Ministry of Agriculture and make sure that there is at least open communication even with former employees. And
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
suspect that that's part of the angst of what we're dealing with here. But they're gonna treat you no different from John Doe or Joe Broom or whoever in the country, all right?
Okay.
And I really would be interested in your perspective, because you can't have served what you have done in this country in agriculture. It's not everybody. Dale will tell you that lawyers don't always agree. Sandra will tell you the same thing. So I can't imagine every agronomist and every agricultural expert to agree on everything. But let the ideas contend and let those of us make the decisions based on the best policy available to us.
Agreed 100%.
I want the honey project going though, because I genuinely feel that, look at it, honey does not spoil. And there are too many people in Barbados who either one, need work, or two, want extra money. And if we can start to develop, it is true that bees love honey. But if we can have honey from St. Lucie to St. Philip, and from St. James to St. John and all around, and have different types of honey because of the different flowers that the bees go for, then we can put a brand and do contract buying. I drink honey with black coffee now. I start using sugar. I use a little honey. A bottle of honey is about $50.
I know.
I know. And it don't spoil. And we can export the honey. So I really would like I've said it to the Ministry of Agriculture, the apiculture project. I know that the EU did some preliminary investigations for us. I want to see, and I'm using this platform now, and St. Thomas is known as the heart of Barbados. I want this honey project off the ground because it allows people to do their own thing and deal with the honey when they got time and how to structure out the time. And let us agree to produce as much honey. At a financial level, we want to also establish a honey exchange where people can trade in derivatives and futures, because at the end of the day, it doesn't spoil.
You have to get the volume. And you would appreciate that even bees need to forage.
Agreed.
And so I would very much like you to use your influence, if you can, to persuade the persons at Soil Conservation to grow more nectar-producing trees. The bees need those trees to produce the honey. No nectar-producing plants, no honey. And I've been asking them for years. Down there.
I think you found some allies in me and the Attorney General.
Good.
So,
Excellent.
And Cynthia as well. So
Excellent.
let us move forward because it is important. I feel that it is an untapped industry that can earn significant amounts for households, but it can also at the macro level earn for the country.
Okay. And the last little plug is on behalf of the people of St. Thomas and on behalf of the people of Rock Hall, Ms. Ford, please consider at some point in time, I don't know if it will be in this millennium or not, but consider in the grand scheme of things, looking at the widening the Rock Hall Road. Rock Hall Road is essentially a horse and buggy road. If two sizable vehicles passing in Rock Hall, now one got to stop. And I don't think, given the fact of the tremendous volumes of traffic that pass through Rock Hall every day, out of the higher parts of St. Thomas, St. Joseph, and St. Andrew on their way to the major highway then leading down into Warrens or into the West Coast, you need to look at that. Because something serious is going to happen in Rock Hall Road one of these days. And I don't have to tell you that, Ms. Ford, you know for yourself. And I am mentioning the road from Pori Spring to Edgehill and Grandview. It has been bad for 25 years, and no one does anything about it. I refuse to travel on that road for the past 15 years because it's mashing up my vehicle. Please, I see you repairing other roads about the place, which in my humble opinion, as not an engineer, ain't want repairing. But that road in St. Thomas remains in a horrible state. Please do something about it. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Just a minute, Mr. Reed. Just a minute. Yeah, the Shop Hill Road that you've mentioned, that is in the estimates this year, going all the way over to Pori Spring side from Shop Hill because the bridge has collapsed. But that is this year to be done, and that has been approved. And,
after 25 years.
Jesus Lord.
Thank you.
And the comment about Rock Hall Road, you know, that is a road that was a new road after it came, but it needs to be widened, as you said, because of the traffic, because a lot of the link roads that will take people from various locations, those roads are in bad condition. So people are coming back in the box now They can't go through. Are you hearing me? No, I was saying a lot of the link roads that were being used before, because of the condition, a lot of people are now using, say for example, people are coming from St. John, St. Joseph, St. George, and they will normally come through Jack in the Box. They're not going Hangman's Hill anymore. The condition is that bad. So they're going up through Welchmore Hall, and they were going through Lion Castle, coming through Rock Hall to get to the highway where St. Thomas Church is, coming down Content Hill or Rock Hall. And that is where the problem is. But I know that that road was a new road. When I came in, that's when the rock got cut. You remember the big rock that was holding over by the house in the corner down from District D. And I agree with you, yes, the road will need widening, but it is to do with the volume of traffic that has stopped using those particular roads to be able to get a smoother road, more or less, to get down to the highway as the case is. But Hangman's Hill is being done, yes. That is included in it as well. The one of Shop Hill and Hangman's Hill. And of course, there are some other ones that need to be done, like Reese Road as well. When vehicles come through from the same Jack in the Box, and they come through Bridgefield, that is the ruggedy one, but then they're coming through now by the Reese Road to get onto this road in order to get to town because of the challenges in the other part. Carrington's Village is called but gone. So incrementally, the roads are being done, but I cannot tell you, the Prime Minister has the purse. And of course, there's so many others across the island, and therefore we are plugging for them. I've been plugging for them, but we can only do one at a time because of the spread.
Touché. Yes, sir.
My name is Gary. I'm from Barwell, and the Prime Minister knows me very well. Anyway, good to see you again, Madam Prime Minister.
All you're doing is reminding me that I'm hungry. This is the pork man for those who don't know.
Proper pork. Anyway, listen, we have some very, very serious situations in this island that worries me. Number one, food security. Right now, you got chicken costing a fortune inside the supermarket along with other products. And it should not be so. We in Barbados got too much idle land that's sitting doing nothing. What I would like to see is some form of legislation to put all these idle lands back in production, that we could plant corn, soya, and so forth, that we could turn around and have these things that we can make animal feeds so that we can bring down the price of these chickens and chicken and pork. Right now, chicken and pork gone through the roof because of imported corn and soya. Right now, a bushel of corn is probably $7 US, $8 US per bushel. And if we could get all these idle lands back in production, it will cut the cost down, and therefore the cost will come down to the consumer. That's one of the things that I would really like to see in this island. Some form of legislation from the AG or somebody, he will be able to do something like that. Also, too, because my cousin Ian beat me to the road, the short road, bad, real bad. But anyway, we passed that. I could go a little further up the road. Now, you got a lot of people coming from St. Joseph, St. John, coming through Jack in the Box Gully, who are probably going to work on the west coast of this island, right? If y'all guys could fix the Hangman Hill Road, that would take a lot of the traffic off the other roads. Because I seen it on mornings, right? Especially in the rush hour. A lot of people who coming from these areas, when they come on this road, they don't want to bring the cars through them roads at all. So if we get some sort of solution to fix these roads, I think that it'd be a better job. Now, one more thing. MTW, Ministry of what? Anyway, listen to me playing this straight, right? When these guys come from the MTW and pedal down a shovel of barber grain and throw a shovel on it and go along about it, I think it should be some sort of equipment foreign, like a roller that can roll it in so that when they put the asphalt inside the potholes, it will remain a little longer. Something like that will work, Honorable Prime Minister. And also, too, I would like to see this patching of potholes done with. It's a waste of time and money, Madam Prime Minister. Right? The patching, I see y'all done with the new machines that y'all got, but the patching, with the truck patching, that's a good idea. And if you could get some more of those trucks, right, and start the pelleting of the shovel, I think that would be better.
The Minister indicate that we're buying some more pothole patching trucks. And look, everybody knows it. You can't just drop the thing in the hole and expect it to stay, okay? And we all know that. And we're trying to make sure that that's not done and that it is properly cut out and that what has to be done in terms of a foundation and sealing will be done. In the absence of that, we felt that we would get greater reliability by the purchase of the machines, and that is what the government is investing in. At the same time, the training and supervision, you heard what I said just now? Assume that people do not know. Train everybody from scratch. Hold them accountable after that. They make a mistake once, you warn them. They make a mistake twice, you warn them. Third time, you're into recidivism. Okay?
Now, one more thing. Government equipment. Right? Anyway, Honorable Prime Minister, you're hungry? I go on. Thank you.
You obviously know things that you want to speak to me or Mr. Boyce. Sorry, I said Mr. Boyce, I meant Commissioner Boyce.
Prime Minister, we have, in this order, Anita Fenty, Angela Nurse, James Eugene, Joel Barrow, Nathan Maynard, Gregory Nichols, Patsy Nurse, Melissa Broom Miller, and Desmond
So
Lord.
everybody can get 2 minutes now. Because I can't keep the public servants out all night, and since we came back to St. Thomas, I know that Senator Nichols will give way, and a few others, in order to make sure that the ordinary members get, because he will have his platform tomorrow again in the Senate. Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening, Prime Minister, members of
Come
Parliament.
closer to the mic,
Good evening,
ma'am.
everyone. I just want to comment on a few things. One of the first things that I noticed when we had the opening of the Freedom Center, which is wonderful over there, St. Thomas.
You're Miss Fenty?
Yes, please.
Where are you from?
Vaughan.
Vaughan. Go ahead.
Shop Hill area. Early in the morning, I go walking. So one of the things that I saw that morning in particular was a Sunday morning that the people were out and they were cleaning, and I was very impressed. I was very pleased. But since then, I have not seen this happen, and we know that that's the area where all the trucks pass, and that's one of the issues that we're having on the road. If you walk the whole street from Shop Hill all the way up to the dump, all of that is full of loads of stuff, and I really think that there needs to be a cleaning project put back in there just like it was on the morning when we were opening the Freedom Village, because I was very pleased about that. The other thing is rubbish. We're still having, I know Cynthia talked about this already, we're still having rubbish, people dumping rubbish out in the gully between Duke and Vaughan. And also right at Vaughan, there's lots of dumping at the moment, which maybe we can actually have a household ad telling people not to dump or something. We need to really, you know, if we're a tourism country, we're seeing this, and, you know, we need to keep Barbados beautiful, because, you know, St. Thomas is the most beautiful place, and I'm talking about St. Thomas because that's where I walk. Best place, parish in the world. Yes, and the other thing is that the Deputy Prime Minister mentioned Hyman Hill, which I'm glad to see that you're addressing, because it was even a challenge for me walking more driving. I used to scrunch when I see drivers pass through there. But they might need to still consider barriers in the bottom by the gully, and also barriers at the top by Shop Hill, where you have I think they have a blue stripe, but I still think I see cars still driving close to it, so you might need to consider putting some kind of barrier there because it's still very dangerous. The other thing is the bus service, my experience with the bus service. 8 o'clock bus going to St. Andrew's Church or White Hill. The next bus after that is what time? Anybody can tell me? 10 o'clock, 10:30. I really think that this is unacceptable to wait from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the bus stand waiting for a bus. That is 2 or 2.5 hours. I really think that something needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed because it is not fair on parents when you come from work and you have to come home to your children, or even if you have to just get home to cook. It is really, really, really unacceptable. And the other thing, I just want to congratulate the Water Authority because we've been getting excellent water in Short Hill. You agree? Yes. We've been getting excellent water service in Short Hill. I'm very pleased.
I am so happy to hear that. And that was one of the projects we've been working on for some time. So the people of St. Joseph, the people of Shop Hill, little by little, we will get their country, little by little.
And thank you for doing a wonderful job, Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, but I thank you, Water Authority. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good night, everyone. My name is Angela Nurse, and I have about 2 or 3 concerns that I hope can be addressed in near future. One concern is the bridge at Lion Castle, Lewis Village. There is a bridge there that I believe, I'm not an engineer, but it's cracked, and I wouldn't want it to collapse because...
This is the bridge where, sorry?
When you come to Lion Castle and you're approaching Lewis Village, right on your left, and that bridge is cracked right now, and I fear that it might collapse sometime. I don't know if in near future or distant future, but if it collapses, then we cannot get out at all because now y'all are saying that you're doing Hangman Hill. You might be doing Hangman Hill, but then you might not be doing Hangman Hill coming up to Endeavour because that bridge down there is down altogether. So right now as we stand, we only have one way in and one way out. Right? So if there's an accident, like years ago there was an accident up by the Lion Castle Bridge, Lewis Village, there was an accident up there, and I had to park my car way up the hill and walk down, and then I could not even get back up there because they didn't, the accident was still there, so my car had to sleep up there, and you don't feel safe leaving your vehicle someplace in a district that you're not too comfortable with, you're not familiar with. So right now there's only one way in and one way out, so that takes care of the 2 bridges, one down altogether and one is broken more or less. And then a hazard if you come through Stony Gully. Now I noticed that something is being done up Stony Gully by the post office. I don't know what it is, but I saw it. Oh, widening, okay. And I'm grateful for that. Also, when you come down through Stony Gully, there's a tree, a tall tree. I don't know if it's a coconut tree, a palm tree, or what kind of tree it is, but there's a tall tree that comes over the road. And I fear that tree every time I pass there, not only for me, but for the school children, because I think that the tree is a simple issue, I would say, in inverted commas. I think to cut down a tree is a simple issue based on the equipment that we have in Barbados. So cutting down the tree will be a simple issue, but the roads, bridges, and so on, that would be a bigger financial problem or issue or challenge. So I think that the tree is something that can be done in a day to save myself and the children that pass in there every day going to school, right? And then the 2 bridges. But I don't know what will happen with the one, the bridge down Endeavor, because that will lead to Hangman Hill, because then there's another road. I don't know if that would be cheaper. If that road can be done, that will go through, I think Minister Ford would tell you could go to Whitehall, over by the guy that got the horses. I don't know if that would be an alternate route to be done, if the bridge would be too expensive, but I mean, if you take a look at it, then you can see. So those are my contributions, and all the other things people spoke about, so it don't make no sense talking about those things. And I want to thank you very much. I hope something can be done.
Thank you very much, and I think that the things that you've asked for are very reasonable. We certainly need Mr. Tudor to have the bridge at Lion Castle looked at. You're aware of the crack? No, so they're not aware, but they'll look at it, Ms. Nurse. And then the DPM has indicated to me that she will be more than happy to make sure that the tree is cut down in Stony Gully as soon as possible. For the people who are in St. Peter, I believe that the road, the back of Fort Denmark with the blockage, that was removed, right, William? So a number of things are happening as we go forward, okay? And the crash barriers that was asked for earlier, that should be something that we should be able to look at and make sure that we put in place. Next one.
Good night, Honorable Prime Minister, our MP, Amen, AG, Assistant. God bless you. And I stand out here to compliment the Prime Minister on the behalf of the ASH program. I think you have done a good job. A good job. I just also said this. Sometime last month, I went in Welch's post office to change a check. And they had some girls, you know, curse and get on. And when I come to change my check, the lady that assists me said, "You in the ASH program too? A reverend? A reverend? You in the ASH program too?" I said, "What is that?" So I want Barbados or young people to know, what you do honest don't make you less than who you is. I want them to know that. I see some of the young people come in the ASH program, they don't even know how to hold a hoe, but they do their best. I think you do a good job, man. We went for 6 weeks, and it took 2 years. I commend you all. Good job. Good job. Good job. So we only got 2 minutes, but my last is the parable of the... Let me time that out now. I know someone. The parable of the prodigal boy. The father had 2 sons. One called for his portion early. He want money, he lavishes it out. And the other fella stay home. I know the Prime Minister know the scripture good. We St. Thomas have stick to the Barbados Labour Party from 1971. From 1971, not out. We had some of the boys that come and they take the portion, they mash up the road, they do money, they do everything. I want the Prime Minister to do me one favor. Don't do like the prodigal boy father. Don't give them the biggest calf first. Please remember St. Thomas. God bless you.
Right. Bishop Eugene, those who didn't know that you were a bishop before now know that you are. Thank you, Bishop Eugene. Yes, sir.
Hi, good night. My name is Joel Barrow, and I really appreciate that I have the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Someone told me that I would actually come here tonight and speak about COWICH.
What is your address, sorry?
Number 4 Endeavor, St. Thomas.
Okay, thanks.
Right. When I say number 4 Endeavour St. Thomas, I wonder if people know what I mean. But normally, when I say number 4 Endeavour, I have to say, they ask me, where is that? I have to tell them next to Gordon Greenidge's house. And then they seem to know where number 4 Endeavour is. I guess there's more than one Endeavour. One of the tenets that I live by is normally, never give up, and God helps those who help themselves. So when I moved into St. Thomas, there was a lot of coverage, but it didn't affect me like the way it's affecting me now. So what I did was I called the police, and I asked the police for some assistance to find out, well, who owns the property, who owns the land. They said to me, well, that's not their job. Call the fire. I did that. I called the fire. The fire came. They said that what they really want to do was control burning. They can't do it because if they do it now with too green, I said, no problem, fine. There's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Davis. I called him. I asked him who owned the property. He told me the property may be owned by somebody named Walker. I went to the phone book, found the person's name. I called the person, told the person, well, come and check out the property. The person said, it will send somebody. The daughter pregnant, they can send somebody. Never sent anybody. I said, fine, okay. After that, I decided to reach out, and since I know where Miss Ford lives, I circled and I circled and I circled. I passed Miss Ford, she wasn't home. Passed back again, she wasn't home. Came back again. I said, well, one morning I said, we're going to call her. I went to the phone book again for a number, called Miss Ford from the phone book. She said, well, it's a good thing I answer the phone because I don't normally answer the phone. I said, well, this probably is a divine intervention, so therefore, let's talk. She said to me, okay, well, sir, no problem, Joel. This is what to do. Take my number. Send me all the information, send the pictures to her, and she's going to raise it at the cabinet level. I said, fine, well, good. But this is calling me now that I can definitely get through. She called me back. She said, well, they raise it at the cabinet level, and all they could do is wait. She said, well, while I'm waiting, I'm going to call the fire department, and I'm going to ask, because I have a friend in the fire department, to check it out. She called back and said, well, the man said, well, hey, I can't control burn it, because if I control burn it, then some people are going to have a problem with the smoke, and that is going to be an issue. Madam Prime Minister, I feel less of a man today talking to you because I can't protect my wife or my 2 sons. I got a son that's 4, I got a son that is 8 months. And they have not seen the front of my house for probably 3-4 weeks because I can't allow them to go inside the front because my house is full with coverage. It's full. I can sit down to you and I showed you that I have tried every possible route, even at the parliament level, to get this coverage handled.
Two points.
Sure.
One, this morning, the last thing I approved for the supplementary that should have been voted about 2 hours ago was $2 million to BAMC, of which $1 million is to go to deal with coverage, and 1 is to go to deal with the water project. Okay? So hopefully you will get some relief. I'm sure that Ms. Ford will make sure that the representations are made to BAMC. But secondly, let's talk. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Because the benefit of ownership carries with it the burden of responsibility. And AG, where and when are we getting the legislation that will hold people accountable for the land and the condition of their land? And if they don't do it, the government will do it and put it onto your land tax bill. Because that's the only way. AG?
Thank you, Prime Minister. The amendments to the health services legislation, we expect to have them within about the next 2 weeks or so. And we are specifically looking at including coverage. Coverage has a Latin name, Mucuna pruriens, I think it is, Mr. Gibbs. And the recommendation is that we specifically mention coverage in the legislation as being a noxious weed, and therefore, as long as Cabinet agrees, it will actually be an offense to have that particular weed growing on your land. That is not currently the state of the law, and therefore, unless you sue that person in the civil courts under the law of nuisance, they can ignore your entreaties to your peril. But very shortly we'll have it.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
My man, I feel for you because there's nothing worse than coverage.
It's true.
You understand? And especially for children. So, as I said, and Mr. Gibbs was reminding me, the $1 million we gave to the BAMC is to take care of government plantations and to do the right thing. The reason I passed the microphone to the AG is that I am appealing to those who own land in this country to start doing the right thing. But in any event, if the legislation comes, Santa, we take Easter break next week, and we should be out for about 2-3 weeks. By the time, hopefully, we come back, the legislation will be there for us to discuss. We are also starting the different parliamentary committees, so that one may go for wider consultation, because obviously we are changing the relationship people will have with land and forcing people to acknowledge that if you have the benefit of ownership, it carries the burden of responsibility. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Prime Minister, all delegates, fellow Barbadians, all protocol observed. Congratulations on the great, my name is Lester Thornhill. 2nd Avenue, BB's Lane. I'd say congratulations on all you're doing to make all Barbadians and bring Barbadians to economic dignity. My question is, with Barbadia being a much older population and an underpopulated population, with where education is going and the blockchain technology is, how can we, or can we also, I heard about how-to videos, can you also do how-to videos to teach the population on fintech and the blockchain technology? Because I believe in this can build a bridge with Barbados being a leader with your influence and your leadership in this region of where blockchain technology is going and financial literacy education. So thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you, sir. I should tell you that the Ministry of Commerce already has started for the last year a financial literacy program. I take your point that we may want to have more public education with respect not just to fintech, but blockchain, because people assume that the two are the same. And in truth and in fact, there are opportunities for us to use blockchain, particularly with the transfer of land and other things that will help make the system far more efficient.
Absolutely.
So thank you for the recommendation. And we would like to go in that direction more and more.
You're welcome.
Building on the financial literacy. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good night, Madam Prime Minister and Head Chairman. Good night to everyone. My name is Desmond Law. Contact St. Thomas. Desmond Law. Madam Prime Minister, I come to give a couple pointers on our healthcare system. When I say healthcare system, I meaning our QEH in particular. And also our a suggestion that wherever we got, like, for instance, we got a lot of police stations in Barbados, and our ambulance service and fire service, we don't have a lot of fire service. So wherever there's a police station, there should be an ambulance output and also a fire output, because it takes maybe an hour for an ambulance to leave St. Michael to St. Lucie and back, which is headache. We need to start looking into these things. And yes, I know Minister Ford suggested that the Prime Minister got the wallet, so she got borrow his sweat card, and Ms. Barshar got borrow the sweat card. Because these are things that we got need to look at for the future. The long distance is too long for all these things. All right? Also, the problem at E&E, visiting E&E is a big problem. That needs something to do with it fast. Because when you go to E&E, I can come to see one doctor here, then I can go in and see this other doctor, and you can stand in there for whole long hours, And then there's a whole Congo line coming back to get 7, 8, 9 doctors just trying to get your name. What you come here for? Something needs to be done. Frank tell me come and deal with Dr. Ford, Nurse Ford, and send all my information to Dr. Bradshaw. And you, Madam Prime Minister, the consultant, everybody sit down. You understand me? Not a whole long Congo line through a hospital asking for a name. We're here for.
You heard Minister Walker talking recently about the changes and the difficulties in the A&E. We also brought in a hospital chain from New York to look at it with us, to deconstruct and to better improve the services. So I'm confident that they're working. We gave and did the first expansion, physical, but it is not only about the physical works. And we accept that there is still need for us to keep everything on one floor, which is why the other $5.5 million was given to them in the budget for them to continue the work. What Minister Walker is talking about now is the systems and the flow and all of the other things that make it work better. So we're going to get there. We had a major hiccup with COVID. And COVID, even though it has reduced itself in terms of its implications for the country as a whole, up to last week somebody died from COVID. So that it is not gone. And therefore, anybody coming into accident and emergency is still going to be required, I would imagine, to have the COVID test, because you're dealing with people who are vulnerable in that environment. So it's not perfect, but rest assured that the government, just as we were working on the water problems,
thanks for that.
If I come in here 2 years ago, we would get run out. Not true?
Yeah.
That's the point. So little by little by little, this is not an exam, this is life.
Yeah.
And we are working with the people to be able to get it better and to improve the systems, and we're putting the funds where necessary, both for the continued physical refurbishment as well as the equipment. So I'm asking you to bear with me, but I'm asking you to keep talking and giving us the feedback in sessions
So
like this.
also
Because when you give us the feedback, we're then in a position to respond appropriately.
What about our different polyclinics? We got Big St. John Polyclinic there. We have Warren's. We have not only St. Vincent Scott, but all these other polyclinics can be open.
We started, but remember, to do a 24-hour clinic is not 2 cents. Because you may think there's only the medical staff, but by the time you have to put in security, and you have to put in more consumables, and you have to do in everything. So little by little, we're expanding as we can, and that is why we want to have far more diagnostic and early screening treatment, so that people don't wait to the end to come only when things are bad. And that's what is happening, and that puts a lot of pressure on A&E. So I give you and this country the assurance that in the same way I've said both agriculture and health were treated as stepchildren in post-independent Barbados. We're trying to be able to anchor it and to be able to give it the kind of trajectory that our people deserve, both in terms of affordable access to health care, promotion of wellness as the best form of prevention, and secondly, with respect to agriculture, food sovereignty, and food security.
2 more pointers, Madam Prime Minister. As Minister Ford and everybody knows, St. Thomas have a lot of trees. And when you travel certain roads, you are seeing the tall trees hanging, not only hanging over the road, the wires, the trees gone through wires. Why we waiting to hurricane season when we got another freak storm or anything worse, and then all we in St. Thomas ain't got no electricity? Come on, trim down the trees. That I feel.
I agree. I'm also going to appeal to people on their own properties, because at the end of the day, that's part of the problem. Many hands may work. But I think that we've heard, because parish every day, then proportionate level of growth in the parish. So the others are hearing, and we may well need, I know, Santia, you had also done a tree trimming program for some of the people coming out of the ASH program as well, so that we can deploy them
There's a
island-wide.
tree. There's a tree in this area called. There's a tree that falls since the freak storm. If you pass through in Cork King, it's called King Field. There's a tree hanging there upon just the utility line for the longest well, a big massive tree. I don't understand. This is such a freak storm every sense, and nobody can seem to get the
Mr.
tree
Tudor,
down.
can you have somebody from the depot go tomorrow and check it out, please?
Is a telephone line.
No problem. Just work with Light and Power and let's get it done.
It's a
Okay?
telephone line, like the power line.
Whichever of the utilities.
Oh.
Okay? But I'm asking you to take the action with the utility companies, please, sir. Thank you.
Okay, my last point is we are asking about Spring Youth Development Program for the youth in St. Thomas, rehabilitation program. Persons who are...
What program, Mr. Lowe, sorry?
Spring.
You reading something for somebody.
Yeah, I am. The person that asked me to take out the said they ain't got much time. Right? Spring Farm Youth.
You suffering from the hands not long enough to be able to see.
I didn't get a chance to, because it's so much that was on mind to next, right? Spring Farm. And what opportunity you have for the UE university grads and those that are in Spring Farm, like how, like Silver Hill and their sort of areas got the layer community booths that could sell and do here or whatever. What about that sort of thing for some of these people in St. Thomas?
You're talking about the project with like the Blockpreneurs project?
Yes. Yes, please.
That's the one that Minister Ford was doing before, Agent Ford? Yeah. Minister Griffith had visited, and the people from the BTMI as well. You mean the guys that are selling along the road on the land?
Yes.
On the land, King's Land.
Yes,
that is land that was in confusion before.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that the minister had already visited and another set of people, but I can't give you any word on it right now. Because as soon as people start to do something, property owners come. And that creates problems. It's the same thing.
I'm not talking
it's the same thing in Parish Spring.
I'm talking about like Spring Farm and the other different areas.
You're not talking alongside the main road, where the fellas have the shops. I thought you were referring to that.
I'm talking about Spring Farm and different
for people to be engaged in that kind of project.
In St. Thomas itself.
In St. Thomas.
Yes.
I've spoken to the minister on that, but they have been working with other projects, other communities previous to ours. It is something that has to be done incrementally, but I will put that on the table again, and I'll use you as the conduit to be able to assist as well, because we need the locals to be intimately involved and upfront, and that is the kind of responsibility we put on you, Mr. Lowe, and I'll work with you all to be able to get it done, because a lot of people like to do that kind of sale rather than have to be waiting. They want to be their own businessmen and women, and that is really what the objectives of that project is. So I'll work with you directly so that you can help to mobilize, but I will work with Minister Charles Griffith, who is now the minister responsible for that particular kind of project.
Remember the last project I come to you about with the creating, not putting a bus shed just out of thing, but creating out of the same bamboo. That when tourists come, they come and sit at the bus shed. Bus shed is another problem we got in St. Thomas. When the rain fall, you got a shelter under a tree, or you got a shelter under somebody's veranda, under a rock, as you said. So bus shed is, we got come this idea to create a bus shed out of bamboo and just put a nice solar light on the top.
It's a great idea, but then again, you will still have to go through the agencies because you want to build something sturdy enough that then
it will be done. It is a small enough idea and an innovative enough idea that we will find a way to do it because it will make a distinctive statement. St. Thomas will be the parish that will have these, once it can work, the bamboo bus sheds to be able to bring a distinctive nature to the environment. Huh? Yeah, Mr. Gibbs is reminding us that we need to treat the bamboo, so thank you, sir, for that. All local knowledge tonight.
Good night, Honorable Prime Minister, MPs, everybody. Good night. So I am Melissa Broom-Miller, and I come from Sturgis St. Thomas. Broom-Miller. Yes. I come from Sturgis St. Thomas. So, a few things. The first thing I want to do is commend this administration for the interest in the pharmaceutical industry. I am a pharmacist by trade. I am a pharmaceutical scientist by education and by qualification. And you can imagine I'm very, very interested in where we're going and how we're going. And I am looking forward to, being able to step out of the position of pharmacist and help to build up the pharmaceutical industry within the country. I've found that as we're speaking about healthcare has been a major issue in the country. And first of all, I'm sure that my neighbors and colleagues alike, we would be interested in the Gordon Cummins Hospital. When is that going to be available again? Because you could appreciate that we would have had to relocate the pharmacy from there. And I believe that they're still operating out of the psychiatric hospital setting. So I believe that patients now that tend to St. Thomas have to go down to psyche in order to be able to get their meds. So that is a major issue, and I think it needs to be resolved quickly. I am a drug service employee, so I was a little bit elated when I heard the budget that you, Honorable Prime Minister, would have mentioned the fact of allowing younger people to step into management roles, because I've noticed that a lot of the issues within the government departments is that there's no plan for succession. So you have all of the older people, all of the older heads sitting at the top, and then they retire one after the other, which is evident now within my department. They retire, and then at the end of the day, there's no plan for people to come in, and it's a whole scramble. So I am hopeful that young people like myself will be able to step into those training roles and those training situations. I am also, I've been, over the last year and some, it's been an interesting year for me, and I would have had to utilize the services of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital on more than one occasion. I've just recently had surgery there in February, and my surgery was actually scheduled for the 4th of May, and I actually got brought up. I was very surprised to get a phone call saying, hey, we have an opening, come down. I was like, okay, I'm coming.
It's good to hear that for a change.
Yes, please. So I have to commend, I really do have to commend the work of the nurses on Ward A6. I have to commend the work of the surgeons, Dr. Chase, Dr. Francis, and of course, the hematology department. They always are outstanding. They went above and beyond to help my husband when he was in the hospital. I have to commend those people. Apart from that, I have a major issue in terms of the photovoltaic systems, because I'm switching now from health to the other agenda, and I'm finding that I was interested in purchasing a photovoltaic system from the BNOC, and I made contact and so on. And then the massive issue that I would have had is being able to insure the property. Now, if you're like me, I'm a young person and I still live at home with Daddy. I live at home with Daddy in Daddy's house, and you could appreciate, like most country people, we live on family land and so on. So there's no clear title deed holder, there's no clear whatever. You know how it goes with family land in the country and tenantries and so on. And one of the massive issues I was having was being able to insure the property, because after the storms and hurricanes and so on, we usually get told, oh, we have to insure properties and so on, but it is so difficult. Insurance companies make it so difficult to insure property. You have to have a whole bunch of stuff. You have to be the owner of the land. You have to be the owner of the house, all kinds of things. So you could appreciate, I wasn't able to get the PV system because obviously, you know, there was a lack of documentation. So that is something that really needs to be addressed for persons like myself, younger persons. Another thing as well is being a younger person and being in the public sector, you would think it would be easy for me to be able to secure a mortgage. That has been very, very challenging. As a public sector worker, and I call it low income, but some people might refer to it as middle income, but it's very, very difficult because where I fall in the middle of things, and there's provision for low-income people within the NHC. There's provision for people who make, you know, a certain amount, but when you fall right in the middle, there's no provision for people like me. So it's difficult to secure a mortgage, so that's something that possibly needs to be addressed. And finally, I wasn't going to bring it up before, but I've noticed that y'all were speaking about, you know, the new legislation on land and so on. I would have bought a property close to where I live. The MP for the area would be familiar with the situation, and I'm unable to build on that property. I'm unable to clear any of it. I'm not allowed to clear the trees, the plants, nothing, because apparently of soil erosion. So I don't know if that's something that can be addressed, because I own property and I can't do anything with it at all. So I was looking into, you know, being able to, I guess, have the land taxes addressed or something, because I'm paying taxes for a property every year and I can do nothing with it. So I think that's all I have to say. Oh, and then obviously the street lights in Carrington Village and, you know, the roads in Sturgis and so on. So that's all I have to say, and thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Melissa. Just on the issue of the street lights, I think we'll work with MP Ford to just provide us with a list of the street lights across the districts that may need to be addressed as well.
Good night. Good night to the panel, and good night to all the guests and fellow Marians. Hi, I just got a couple of things. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? Your name, sir? Oh, sorry, Lyndon Fenty. I just want to speak a little bit to the panel, if I may, and just to speak about what I think we could probably have is a redefining of what we call economic zones. Because I was just having a conversation at the desk, and for the time I mentioned the word economic zone, they think about, well, we got to think about building a mall and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about. Let me just get straight to the point. We're talking about faith, imagination, and money. In order for the government to do what God do, the government got to have money. In order for we to feel good, we got to make sure that we get a little bit of money. Okay? Now, my input is this. I kind of tired hearing, like, yeah, man, if you got your land, try and plant something in it and plant something in it. Once upon a time, remember you used to use the phone? It used to be 50 calls per one line. We only know that, we didn't know the amount of frequencies they had. Now everybody in the world got a cell phone, everybody got a frequency, right? So once upon a time, we used to think about agriculture. I hear somebody say earlier, man, you got to get all our land back in production. All our land back in production, that sounds good. But you can't be thinking that, when you think about a phone now, once upon a time you used to get to the wall, but then you got a phone and it just sparks and you're gone. Agriculture now, you could plant an acre in a container. An acre in a container. So one of the things that, if it's possible, like I see, I would like to see Minister of Agriculture asking the right question. How many English potatoes do Barbadians eat? Answer, 3 million pounds. Answer, how we going to provide that for them? Start getting it from Denmark. No. Let me go back to faith now. Everybody meet Bishop Eugene, and everybody know he's a bishop. Right? He's a man of faith. But I mean, Miss Ford, you would probably know that he and my mother, before my mother passed away, was best friends. And I used to hear Eugene's voice in the house every morning on the phone call. He and my mother used to pray every morning at 4 o'clock, right, Eugene? At 4 o'clock every morning used to pray, and they used to pray together. Eugene would not know this. One day after the my mother done prayer, right? My mother looked at my wife and she said, "Babe, you don't got a job?" I said, "Hold on a minute, man." Mother went in the kitchen and turned on the pot. 1, 2, 3, 4 days, she ain't eating nothing at all. But the Friday, my wife got a call, "Listen to me, can't work." She had a job. I'm talking about faith. To go back to what Eugene's saying, right? Simple, fellas. A 3/4 cord is not easily broken. All right? Stop telling me to go and plant my little quarter acre and I plant my little so and so and so and so. And when I plant now, I can't get a super center. Because you know what happened? He got there before me. But if we had a national team, we'd probably answer the question of, let's say, just an example. Let me say English potatoes. Let me just say an example, right? And we had these supermarkets investing. And we had the population going for national targets, right? And we had the government backing we. Nobody could talk about getting things in agriculture. That's what I would like to say, okay? We need a tripartite arrangement. Stop telling me go and plant a quarter here, because it ain't gonna make sense, because before the pandemic, you know what? Every corner in Barbados had a stall on it. And with the stalls is now, all the stalls gone. We need to stop thinking about the phone as back in the wall, and stop thinking about agriculture as 1 acre of land can produce 1 acre of food. Them days done. As many containers that you get on an acre of land, that's the amount of food you can produce. That's number one. My other thing is, only one more suggestion I'd like to say. I think we need to utilize, I don't know what plans y'all have, I may be speaking out of turn, but I'm just saying, if possible, my idea is let me get used to the rainwater in Barbados more efficiently. Let me tell you why. I got a brother that left Barbados and he lived in the Virgin Islands as the head teacher, right? And he would have never ever drink a drop of rainwater in Barbados, because there's possibly a stigma attached to drinking rainwater in Barbados. And he's a deputy head teacher down there, and that's all he could drink. You know why? Because all the houses got to be built to facilitate for rainwater. Because you ain't got nothing else to catch. Right? So in Barbados, I think it may be possible. I don't know. I'm just saying, hey, how about if other islands, and they have to build their houses for rainwater by law, he would have never drink rainwater in Barbados. I'm telling you. But in Barbados, the rain falling all the time, and I still complain about a water bill. Well, let's think about it for perspective. So, all I'm saying is, a 3/4 cord is not easily broken. But let me look at the 3 cords that we're pulling together. Pull the supermarkets, pull the people that planted the food, and the government. And you got to say that can happen. Like I said, answer the question, man. How much lamb do Bajans eat? How much pork do Bajans eat? How much so-and-so do we eat? Answer that question and then find out how we can go after it. Thank you very much. That's my contribution.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the contributions. The truth is that countries like Bermuda force people to take the water off the roof as well. And under Mr. Arthur, houses over a certain square footage were required to build tanks to collect rainwater. My difficulty was that the rainwater was just for storage and not usage. And we've asked the others to start to look at it, William, to look at it, to see how we can appropriately incorporate the use of the rainwater around the property, and to remove the requirement for it just to be large houses, but to look and see how we can work effectively with every household to be able to save water and to use that water for other things when necessary, like farming or watering the gardens or whatever. But thank you for the passion and thank you for coming and sharing. On the matter of integrated planning, rest assured that the Ministry of Agriculture is doing it. They can tell you what the import bill is for each particular food, vegetable. Broccoli, for example, is something that we believe that we need to be able to get on top of and start growing about here. I don't see anybody from agriculture here this evening. I'm not going to make noise because the minister had to stay down at Parliament. But in future, we normally have people from agriculture here also responding. So thank you, Mr. Fenty. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Good night, Prime Minister, Motley, and the panel. My name is Patsy Nurse, and I'm from Parish Spring, St. Thomas. And I'm here on the behalf of the guys on the block. I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, you good?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thanks.
The reason I'm here is because I'm doing, I'm talking for the guys that in Parish Spring. Now, we know Parish Spring before it was bare bush. But now, the guys got up there look so fantastic that tourists can go there and visit. It is so beautiful. I mean, I was in St. Thomas from a child and going up there and see how the guys got up there look. Prime Minister, you need to go in the spring and really commendate these guys because they do a good job. What I want you to do for them, Prime Minister, is to go up there and talk to them and see anywhere that you can help them because, for instance, the town country planning, the guys was trying to build something, a house where that, if anybody come to going on the spring to take a shower, and, they want to sell little snacks to make a little money to earn a living. And someone called the town country planning. And the town country planning came and they pushed it down. Now, one of the guys who responsible for the shelter, the building, the structure, they told me that they called Miss Ford, but they couldn't get hold of Miss Ford. So they called me. So, I had to go. Especially because I'm from Port Spring and I live in Port Spring.
But not only that, you like service like Miss Ford too.
That's right. That's
you
why I
notice
have.
That?
Yes.
But the only thing you went to town for the service and don't come back.
Yes. Right.
Thank you, Patsy, for raising it. All jokes aside, we can go and look at it. Cynthia and I can go and look at it. And the truth is that the springs are an attraction. I can't tell you who owns the land. William, we need to find out. But there may be a case for some kind of, as you say, vending and some kind of public convenience. So thank you for raising it, William, Cynthia.
And also, top of Spring Farm, there's a parcel of land that you guys have like a little park. St. Thomas is a place that beautiful that tourists come and drive through. I am a taxi driver also. And for instance, Prime Minister, what I would like you to do, if you can buy a parcel of land where that we can develop St. Thomas, like how we have our Saints Fish Market. We have a lot of people up there that do cooking, craft, all sorts of things, and we need to help these people to get money. Because you see, some people in St. Thomas, they are not working, and we need to help them.
The truth is, though, Patsy, don't get carried away because there's going to be a lot of work, particularly in trades. And one of the things that bothers me and keeps me up at night, and that is why the Construction Gateway project was started, is that if we're not careful, we're going to have a mismatch between the need for jobs and the lack of skilled artisans to do the jobs. So I want to use this opportunity, and I want you to help me to encourage people to get into the Construction Gateway program. And I say this to my constituents from 1990, 91. When they come and see me, I ask them straight, if your stomach hurting you, who you going to? Tell me. Who you going to? If your roof need fixing, who you going to?
The carpenter or the mason.
If your plumbing need fixing, who you going to?
The plumber.
My point is, and if you want to laugh hard, who you going to go and pay? Somebody like Trevor Eastman or you understand? Or go and buy a CD or something. My point is that if you don't give people a reason to hire you, you are dependent on their mercy. And I want young people to recognize that it is up to each person to give the people around them a reason. And that is why your parents and your grandparents would tell you about getting a skill. It ain't only about certificates. In fact, the people who have certificates don't make as much as the people who got skills now. Whether it's well digging or whether it is working. I'm telling you, even the farmers, the bottom line is that we need to get people back into productive employment. Similarly, We also need, and I heard me say it in the budget, there needs to be a conversation between the hotel and hospitality workers and the owners of capital. There is a decline, not just in Barbados, all over the world post-COVID. People have retreated from tourism and hospitality. And we need to find out why and how to attract people in there again. With that, there will be the need for the entrepreneurs like the fellas in Pori Spring and Spring Farm, and we'll try and get that done. But I really, really, really want to use this opportunity to impress on people, do not let us end up having more jobs needed and nobody to fill them because the skills are not there. In addition to Barbados, you see an oil and gas industry all about the region now with Guyana. At the end of the day, they're going to have a shortage of plumbers and welders soon too. We got a shortage of plumbers too if we have to do all that we need to do, Mr. Leslie. Not true? At the Water Authority. So I'm almost begging Bajans, get the skills. Years ago, you used to have to pay to go and learn a trade. Not true? That's when you were apprenticing, you had to pay to learn a trade. People pay to go to university, people pay to go all kind of things. Let us use the opportunity with this government giving you not just the courses at the institutions, but we offer 15,000 courses free online at Coursera. Tell me how many other countries give their citizens all of that free training. So help me, Patsy, persuade everybody, boys and girls, because I see female plumbers, I see female welders, I see females doing all kind of things as well. So let us get everybody and give people a purpose, because your country is going to need you shortly with respect. And those who don't go in construction, come in farming. Those who want to do farming, they got stuff to do with all kinds of IT-related stuff. We're training people to do cybersecurity and to do other IT-related stuff remotely overseas, but you're living in Barbados. Okay?
And next thing, ma'am. What we are talking about now, the community center. You know, we have one in Spring, down in Rock Hall. We're going down to Rock Hall. What we're going to do with that community center? It's closed up right now. It was before, it was a court, but now it have nothing doing. And for the center, we can get the senior young people to come in and do programs, even old people, even the elderly. And I have people that will come in and help the young people also with programs. So I need to know what's going to happen with the center, please.
The community center, as you know, would have been taken away from us in 1987 because of the collapsing of the police station and the other areas around it, and turned into the magistrate's court. Representation has been made since 2018, and I must tell you, I'm happy today. The permanent secretary is here. The community center is available again for the people of St. Thomas. The other thing about it is, when you look and see almost 65 houses in Westview on the opposite side, and 150 new ones on content development, and all of Spring Farm and Rock Hall, and so the people in those communities need to get the opportunity to learn skills, to be able to bring the children, do performances, because we know how it served us as young people with dances and all that. That is now almost ready. The roof has they've already started to fix the roof, and it should soon be handed over. As well as Minister Ford has agreed to give us a little play area with equipment to the extent that stretches over to Mr. Springer's house, because when parents are in there and they're learning the skills, a mother, a father, a granny, auntie, somebody has to be out there that those little children can exercise and be safe. So this community center is going to be put back into the hands of the people of St. Thomas. And then, of course, whatever skills you are looking at, you will get your opportunity to be able to be an integral part of it.
And next thing, you know they had an old toilet, like when you came across the Baffle Corner. Now that closed down. So you can't restrict that, so that if people going to the spring to bathe, that you know they could come and use that facility.
That facility was bought sometime in the time of the late right excellent owner Arthur by Mrs. Crawford. Mr. and Mrs. Crawford. So it is a private entity right there in Parish Spring, opposite Diana Graves and those on the hill. That one is in private hands for many, many years now. So that would not be an option unless there's an arrangement done with Mr. Crawford and the family there to be able to have access to it. But I don't know that it is still having the bathrooms and the toilets in there as well. But that one is in private hands, so that would not be something I can speak to you about.
Okay, thank you. And please let me see something happening. I don't want a long talk. I want to see action. Thank you.
Patsy, you know you're going to get action. But I want to thank you for remaining active and for taking these events seriously and coming and participating.
Thank you.
And look, I am so proud in Barbados because when people will know Patsy ran with a different political party. But the spirit of this nation is that this is not about politics. This is about.
I'm not
this
about,
is about building
it's
the
about
country.
me and helping the people of Barbados.
And I want
That's
to
it.
thank you for the strong community service that you continue to render.
Thank you,
my dear.
Thank you.
Ready to close? That's it? Wesley?
Wesley, you watching or you coming to the mic? Because City getting ready to close. Huh?
I am not slated to speak.
But do you wish to speak? Because
of course.
once it's not going to be too long.
I just want a minute
Because I don't want to keep the public service out generally beyond 10 o'clock. So no problem. But you talk normally every day, so I didn't think you wanted another platform.
No. Okay, fine. Anyway, good night to the panel. Nice to see you, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Attorney General, everybody else. Ms. McConney, I keeping you last, Cindy. Sorry. Oh, where's the Chandler? Richmond.
The same district as the MP.
Vault Road. Anyhow, I come to observe, but I heard a resident from Endeavour, Lancaster, talk about the true road from Lancaster, Stony Gully, Post Office.
Come a little closer to the mic, Wesley.
Yes, I'm frightened for what you think to me. I am saying that when I listen to the resident, I can't remember her name, but I know her well, speak about Endeavour, it prompted me to say something. As a boy, I'm 63 years old now, and Miss Ford could testify to this, along with Michael Allen also, he can testify to this. We used to traverse Lancaster and come right through Endeavour and but out on Hangman Hill. For 30 years or so, that bridge has been broken. And I am terrified to see up to this day, right? That is the same road in as the same road out, and it need not to be so, right? That road was a good agricultural road, right? And I am saying that I will love, I don't live there, but I will love to see that road fixed. Because when you travel, you can still pass, as you know very well, Ms. Ford, but when you pass, you're trespassing on the guy with the farm. Okay? I don't know his name. And I think that that is unfair to the residents of St. Thomas, especially in Endeavour and in Lancaster. So if you're talking about fixing Hangman Hill, I think you got to address that road too. I really think you got to address that road. And I'm not going to even attempt to speak about Ericott or Canfield. Because, Ms. Ford, you know the horror stories that them people in Ericott and Canfield go through every day with that road, okay? So I'm begging the question, what have St. Thomas do to deserve this kind of treatment when it comes to road network? I don't understand. Where I live in Bryan, perfect road. Richmond Hall, perfect road. I don't have a complaint. But I have friends. I have a lot of friends that live in Lancaster, Canfield, Ericott, and I'm sure Ms. Ford as well. So I want to know what is the
You asked, what was the question? What St. Thomas did?
Yes.
St. Thomas didn't do nothing.
No, but I know what
the government
they did.
the government inherited a bankrupt government. So
No.
that with all due fairness,
Don't come with that,
Wesley,
Mr. Prime Minister. Don't come with that.
With all due, you know it more than most, because you know that when this country owed $1.9 billion on top of the $18 billion that they had, trust me, bring it to $18 billion, you can only do what you have. And what we have been doing, don't shake your head, because just like I can't fix a car, and I don't know how to do body work, listen to me on this one. I am telling you that even with all the money that we get, I can't spend more than a certain amount every year, because if I do that, I'm going to breach my limits and start to add up debt. So Santia, in an ideal world, would like to do about $250 million in road works a year. But there is no way we can do that. If we do that, then I can't get agriculture nothing to spend, or I can't get a QEH, or I can't give education. So that, trust me, the same way you go balance a car, if you go and hoist up a car up on one side, it can fall down on you. You understand? So that, believe you me, it sounds good. And St. Thomas ain't doing nobody nothing. Santi just read out here to you tonight. How many roads? I want to know. You should be here to say, Cynthia, you managed to get all these roads still being done. Why? Because Dale will tell you that the Scotland district, Mr. Tudor, what work was done in the Scotland district in the last 15 years until now? It only started here in Shorey Village and Vault Road. So that, and that is $230 million at 2%. Who in here borrowing money at 2%? Put out your hand. Nobody borrowing the money at 2%. So trust me, for us to go and secure that money from the Chinese to be able to do all the roads in St. Thomas, St. Joseph, St. Andrew, a little bit in St. Peter, and a little bit in St. John, believe you me, now that ain't got nothing to do that we also gone and secure money, $100 million for the CAF roads. So St. Thomas getting 5 complant roads this year, and 2 CAF roads, plus then the widening by Stony Gully, plus then construction of road at Lithcott Land, plus then the construction of the Elliott Belgrave Road. So believe you me, I would like to get them even more. You hear me call Jackson yet? Shed a little tear for me now, because I ain't get nothing on the Dems, and you know that, because you had to come and empathize with me. And similarly, I had to put myself, you know what they say, FSB? You know what FSB is? Family stand back. So because I in charge, I got to stand back and help all the others before me, so that the people of Jackson at some point gonna wonder what really going on. And that's why, Mr. Tudor, I was joking here. But Mr. Tudor, I put the pressure on you for Jackson yet, have I? No, it may come, but I'm making sure that St. Thomas and others get through first. You understand? So that the same way Dr. Doogie get up in Sergeant's Village and up that side, and Sandy get out by the Pine, and Dale getting in St. Joseph, and Kay getting up by here, up Foursquare side, believe you me, Jackson gonna want soon. But I have said to them, hold tight, because I can't be a prime minister unless you carry along your people. I'm carrying along our people. Hold tight with me, we gonna fix Jackson. I telling you the same thing with Cynthia Ford. Cynthia Ford is get 80% of the vote. And we don't take her for granted, but there were some areas that we had to do first. We are now getting ready, and Santi has given you a long list. I glad Ms. Nurse tell Mr. Tudor, to go and check the bridge at Endeavour, and you have now come to reinforce her point, because one road in, one road out can't work.
Same way in and
So
same way out.
we can work together. But trust me, nobody will take out St. Thomas, but it is a fact, F-A-C-T, that we inherited a government that was effectively bankrupt. You do not default on your debt and restructure it if you are solvent, if you have money. It is not different from anybody in this room. If you owe way too much to the credit union and the bank, you just got to go and say, look, can I restructure my debt? Instead of paying $2,000 a month, can I pay $1,200 or $1,300 a month? That is what the government had to do. And in addition to that, we had to beg them to wipe off some of the principal. Now, don't let's get tied up. That is why I made a big deal in the budget about the banks coming back to the domestic capital markets, because for 4 years, we have had to manage this country based on international money predominantly. We introduced the Boss bonds, and a number of people took them up. We introduced Boss Plus, that is still being taken up. It is only now that 2 of the banks have said we are coming back to the markets and helping to finance the government. Ask me how many years of losses they made, by the way, because when we were going to restructure the debt, you will forget that everybody was in the paper, from the former governor right back through, telling us, oh, we're going to lose all of this, and the banks can lose 3-4 years. 2 even flying from Canada and tell me that if Barbados restructured the debt, that we can cause a collapse of that bank in the markets. You remember, AG? And I had to abuse them and ask them if they can talk to Justin Trudeau, so and please leave. You understand? Because let me tell you, 1 year of losses. Now, when they were lending the last government that money, you know that they were getting rewarded handsomely, because the risk of lending the government at the time was a huge risk. And the bigger the risk, the more handsome the reward. So if you accept the money for the handsome reward because of the risk, then you must carry the burden when the risks become real. And that's exactly what happened to Owen Arthur's grave. He made the point, 68 cents in the dollar cannot be spent in debt service. Well, you got 32 cents left. You got to pay salaries. You got to buy materials to do the road. You got to buy equipment to fix the roads. Mr. Trudeau, that's why you had no equipment when we come in. So I'm saying to you, I hear you. I too want to make a case for St. Thomas. And we shall make it with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 5, 7, 8 roads, and 9 roads, and 1 widening. And Cindy, more coming. But as God is our witness, we will do it bit by bit. There was 2 years ago, you were bringing the messages from the people of Shop Hill about no water. And Mr. Leslie and Alex and all of them take the licks. Not true? And they kept telling me, once we can finish the works from the Ionics plant and bring them up the hill by Lodge Hill and come across, that we would ease the pressure at Shop Hill. That was what you all told us, correct? The people in St. Joseph were told no water. We said that we would put the extra things in at Vineyard and run the water through Golden Ridge up to St. Joseph, and that we would also put in a new reservoir, which Dale, y'all opened up here the other day. First time reservoirs get built in St. Joseph and both Barbados for decades. We can do everything, man. But just give us a chance. Even you know that.
Madam Prime Minister, I still have a lot of confidence in you. But I don't know if you're trying to make me forget what you want to say. But I want to stay on course.
You're a man that's taught every day on radio.
No, it's quite okay.
Nobody can make you forget.
It's quite okay. I must say though.
All jokes, somebody can make you forget.
I must say though, passing through St. Joseph, the Attorney General doing a good job on the roads. A very good job. And I feel left out in St. Thomas. Honestly.
Don't feel left out.
I really feel
a good-looking man like you always know how to find. Don't feel left out.
Listen. I can finish in a minute, but I want to say this here, right? And I want to go back to this question. I do not know what the people in St. Thomas do to deserve this, right? And no, just let me land my plane. Just let me land my plane. I want to say the people in St. Thomas has been very generous and very dedicated and very St. Thomas going pine. And I'm saying that St. Thomas, I believe.
Hold on. Wesley, let's start because you're getting back down a wrong road and I can only deal now with facts. 1, Rockhampton Road, started by the Barbados Labour Party government, abandoned in 2008, same way with behind BIM, with Friendship Terrace and Lowlands Terrace, same with Canewood Road. We came in and one of the first things we did, William, you fixed Rockhampton Road and finished that for me when you were Minister of Public Works. In this last year, we have not been doing all of the big roads yet because we were waiting for the Chinese, the Complant contract to come. When the contract comes, Mr. Tudor, explain. Roads have to be designed. Engineers have to look at the design. They have to be costed. Geotechnical, especially in the Scotland district areas. Believe you me, it is being done. So that you can't just get up and say the contract signed last year and the road should start tomorrow, because if not, it would be the equivalent of what people have complained in here tonight about throwing the thing in the pothole and then telling you to drive over it. So believe you me, I understand that you need to make a case. If I were you, I'd be making a case too. But I need it made on the facts. The reality is that St. Thomas is getting the lion's share of roads in the Scotland District project with the Chinese. Mr. Tudor talk, because if I as a politician, give Mr. Tudor a little piece of the mic there for me and let him
I will get a
advise.
chance to come back?
Yes. But you might have to talk to me on and off.
But
hold on, Wesley. Wesley, you're gonna get your chance to come back. But let Mr. Tudor tell you, because I think you need the confirmation. Shop Hill did not have water. There's still other areas in St. Lucie and St. Peter getting brown water. We made sure that Shop Hill and parts of St. Thomas, Grandview, and all of that get in the water. Mr. Leslie, how much money was spent on that project to be able to secure that? So don't say that St. Thomas getting unfair, when in truth and in fact, if I look at the overall things, that they may not have had all the roads yet, because Mr. Tudor, how much roads St. Thomas getting in the Scotland District project? And it's still getting calf too. And this is just year 1 of the Scotland District for St. Thomas. So I beg you don't unfair me nor Sentiso.
I'm not unfair nobody. I'm a resident of St. Thomas, and all I am saying, Ms. Ford, right? I don't see nothing major happening in St. Thomas.
And I'm telling you.
And I'm wrong for saying that.
Just give Mr. Tudor the mic, please. You can get to come back. I don't unfair you. You know that too.
Good night, everyone. Head table.
You all come a little closer to the mic.
Let me
Mr.
just
Tudor.
first of all say that Minister Ford is not one of the few, but we get the most complaints from her regarding roads in her constituency. Right? Let me just say that. She works very, very hard, and almost every month we get a list of areas or potholes or whatever that need to be done.
She's representing her people.
So St. Thomas is very, very well represented in the person of Miss Cynthia Ford. Now, when you say nothing is happening, in the past there was no money to do the kind of work that we are now planning to do in St. Thomas. Let me just go through the list one more time and more or less expand on what Minister Bradshaw has said.
And roughly tell us how many kilometers, because it's a lot of kilometers.
I don't have the kilometers. Well, I have the kilometers, but I prefer to give you the costing of these roads. Right. Now, well, from all that would have started the Stony Gully, rather. We started cutting back the rock at Stony Gully. We are widening the road. we're putting in footpaths along that road. That is long overdue. I know Minister Ford has been complaining year in, year out about doing something with that. That is finally started. Anybody traveling along there now, we've seen that Stoney Gully has started. In terms of the residential roads, we are doing Scotland, which is another road that she complained about. Belgrove Road, that has to be constructed. Right? In terms of the CAF program, we're doing Keane Garden to Bridgefield.
You have the costings there, or you don't
Keane
have
Garden
them?
to Bridgefield is about $2 million.
Give out all the costings, because I want Wesley to know that this is monopoly money.
Right. Kenwood to Prout is another $2.5 million. Bloomsbury is $917,000.
2 and 2.5 is 4.5 and 900 and how much?
917,000.
So that is 5.6.
Let me add it up together. It comes to
Come on.
all told, it comes to $18.9 million
No,
in
it
St.
can't
Thomas
be.
alone.
It can be. No
Right.
way. Keep going.
Hangman Hill, $1.711 million. Carrington Village, we have that $517,000, but I think it's going to be more than that because there's a substantial amount of work to be done in Carrington Village. Jukes, $1.64 million. Jack in the Box, $609,000. What minister? I didn't give her the full list, but Reach Road is also being done. That's another $300,000 or $400,000. Jack in the Box Gully, another $1.5 million. Russia Gully, $2 million. Melrose, I have Melrose here at $5.5 million, but that seems a bit high, but Melrose Road would also be done, right? So all told, it's about $18.9 plus million that will be done in St. Thomas alone.
And let's be realistic. They will start this year and go into next year.
Yes, we wanted to start Keane Garden about a couple of weeks ago, but we've not been able to. The contracts are still being worked on. But Keane Garden will be the first road that we start in the new financial year, which starts sometime next week.
Well, if new financial year starts Saturday.
Right.
But I won't make you work on April Fool's Day.
Right? So we're doing Keane Garden first, and then we're going to do Keane with the Proud.
And because I am a woman who has had experience, I'm not going to tell you that all these roads are going to start and finish this year.
No.
They're going to start and go into next year.
Correct.
But what has been secured is $19 million in roads for the people of St. Thomas. That is not treating them foolish or forgetting them. You understand? But with the best will in the world, and Mr. Tudor, go through the process of how this thing happens, because I think people feel that you just pick a road and go and work on it. Explain for me.
All right, basically, we get inputs from about 4 different sources. 1 is the residents of the areas. 2, the traveling public. 3, the representative for the constituency. And 4, the officers who are responsible for the various catchment areas. And we more or less cost these roads that we have identified, and we come up with a program. And that is basically how this was done. Now, there has been no work done in St. Thomas for so long that I would appreciate. That is why these roads are costing this kind of money, right? So over the 15, 20 years, nothing has been done.
And in addition to that, when you select the road, what then happens? Can you go and carry machinery on the road straight away?
No.
Tell us what happens.
The roads have to be designed. There's some roads, particularly at Carrington Village, Hangman's Hill. There are some roads that need geotechnical information before we can start the road. It makes no sense going a million. These are not simple.
And why do you need the geotechnical? 1 meeting, please. Why do you need the geotechnical information?
Because some of the soils that are there are clays and some expansive clays and various types of soils that can't really work in. So you have to do the geotechnical information engineering to make sure that what you build is sustainable. You don't just go and mill and pave and put ordinary mill and pave on top of road.
And as I learned when we were doing Pot House Road, part of the road can be limestone and part of the road can be clay.
That's right.
In which case you have to alter the design to suit.
There you go. So that's why geotechnical survey has to be done to determine where is limestone, where is Joe's River muds, where is clays, and you come up with a comprehensive overall design that would work and that was the roads could be sustained.
After the design, what happens?
After the design, it is, well, the costing is designed first, then it is costed. Then as part of the design, the technical work has to be done because basically the geotechnical work basically informs what the design is
How
supposed to be.
long typically does the geotechnical work take?
Oh, the geotechnical work.
Song hard.
The geotechnical work it has taken up to about 3 months, 3 to 4 months sometimes, and that is dependent on if the core drill machine is in Barbados, because it works up and down the Caribbean. So we more or less have to book the machine in order to have it come and work in Barbados on the various roads. So there isn't always a case where you just call somebody and tomorrow they come with the geotechnical, the drills and whatever have you, and does the work. So it's a long process, design and everything, costed, and then we have to more or less program the work for the work to be done. So it's not.
So you design and cost was the next stage.
You design, the cost. Well, the compliant program that's being done by the Chinese, but it usually goes out to tender, and the tender basically is awarded to the contractor who comes and does the work on behalf of the ministry.
And in the case of the non-Chinese roads, invariably we have to go and find financing to build the roads, correct?
Correct.
So that also takes time too, in terms of negotiating the loan contract with CAF or the Inter-American Development Bank or Complant. Not Complant, the Chinese.
Right, yeah. Well,
okay?
Chinese,
So
yeah.
what I'm trying to do, Wesley, and I really thank you for the opportunity, and I mean that, to share with the crowd here and Barbadians generally, what is the process? Because I know that more often than not, people do not appreciate how complex the process is, and that we can't just go and fix. Now, in the case of St. Thomas, you were correct. St. Thomas has been ignored for years, but it is not ignored now because we've been planning for this moment. We could not start these roads this year, next week, if there were no designs, if there were no costings, if there was no geotechnical, if there was no procurement. So I want you to understand that just like your court, this was the long courtship, now the consummation of the relationship with the roads will happen.
I just want to say that, as I normally say at these meetings, I've been here for the last 36 years, and this is the first time since I've been working with the ministry that we've had this kind of money being able to be spent in the various roads throughout Barbados.
Come back.
Madam Prime Minister, I don't believe that anybody. I don't believe anybody in this hall would doubt that you and your team are doing a very good job. Let me get that straight, okay? But I'm here to speak on the parochial level, okay?
That's why I thank you for the opportunity, because I genuinely feel that what Mr. Tudor said needs to be carried by the media and needs to be explained to all of Barbados. And I thank you for raising it to give him the opportunity to explain to people process.
Well appreciated. And I trust what he's saying, right? I have no doubt that he's a man to his word. But one other little thing, and I gone. I see the word at the mouth of the post office, which leads into Stony Gully, is widening. It can happen soon enough. I appreciate it. Ms. Ford, I really appreciate it, because you know, two cars can really, one had to stop for the next one pass. But I would like to know that if you can stop at the mouth of Stony Gully or if you can go through, because a part of that rock want addressing too. And I would like to know if that road will be paved going right down to Fort Cecil. It will be? Okay, I good with that.
Thank you very much, Wesley. I should say Mr. Chandler. And of course, Mr. Tudor too, who would have given the accurate information. I want to express my gratitude to all of you for coming tonight. It is something that has been long awaited by the people of St. Thomas. And of course, we're in another forum, I would have spoken about what the road works were like before and what is happening now with sidewalks and all that, and there are no holes cut in them and so, but that is another occasion, because those little holes in the sidewalk, the little ones, that led the water into gutters and not on the main road, and that is where a lot of the bitumen is kicking up. And local knowledge is always important. There are old men and women still who could talk to MTW and the other agencies about the roads. Another occasion I'll do that. But I want to thank Honorable Prime Minister and the team of my colleagues, and I should really stand. I want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and my team of colleagues for coming here tonight with us to be able to explain. It has been tremendous challenges for me when people call and say, so X got a road and we ain't getting none, and this got a road. I can understand that, because there have been calls and pictures and all that coming in from people who say, my tire got broken, something went wrong. To get over to Ericot, we know what it is like. And I'm working closely, as I have always done, with the MTW workers at Bagatel and the supervisors, and they do the patching and all that. Yes, there have been challenges, but I'm sure now that you've learned the full story as to where we are going during this financial year, and the number of roads that we're looking at, and the bridges that have to be fixed. I am sure that you feel better now about the situation, and you understand better the processes that have to be undertaken in order to get the finished product. I want to thank all of you. We've gone from the Kowich, and I understand what was being said by the gentleman from Endeavour. I spoke with the Chief Fire Officer, and of course, that could not happen according to how he explained it because of the challenges. And then you saw what happened last week with fires. All over the place, people were setting fires and they were busy. And therefore, there are niggling problems, but I will continue to work with you, and I will continue to work with my colleagues, because each of us is dependent on the other in order to be able to get the aspects of the challenges corrected. And I did not want to be political earlier, because I would have told you that when this road was being done, it was widened about 6 feet. And there's nobody ever worked for me or in Barbados, as far as I'm concerned, like Anthony Brathwaite and Cleo Marshall, who were supervisors in MTW. And when you see sidewalks done, they did it without going up to the headquarters in the Pine. And we were all satisfied. But over the years and the heavy rainfall and the lack of proper drainage, the roads have deteriorated. And I could have told you earlier if I had spoken, but I wanted you to have it because it's your night, not mine. That when that road stretching from right here at the junction from Sharon up to Shophill was going to be paved in the time of Mr. Marshall, the then minister came and said, then the truck was there with the Barbara Green and everything you call it, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. She had 10 years and she fixed it herself. That is not what Barbados should be. We should be working together in unity. At the end of the day, we're one people, one nation. That whole road going up to Edgell was never done. Every other week, a burst pipe, a burst pipe, a burst pipe, and that caused the condition of the road. So I am happy and thankful for the Honorable Prime Minister and the government for helping us in this regard, because the better the roads are, the smoother we can walk and ride and drive, and less damage to our vehicles, or less fear when it comes to the nightfall. So you've gone from the range of street lights that are necessary. That is in my report I sent forward to the Honorable Prime Minister and the team. You've talked about sidewalks. We have not talked a lot about buses, but I too have a serious challenge. And I'm glad that Madam is here, Madam Holder is here from the Transport Authority, with these ZRs that are off route all through Wetchma Hall. And if they're off route and anything goes wrong with the passengers, the injury, whatever, challenges. And the behavior, it is really destroying our communities, especially the dragging with the right indicator on. Nobody can overtake. Every morning before 5 o'clock in the village where those ZRs should not be, that are not assigned. So there are challenges, but we will work together in the agencies. The synergies will take place as it did with the Water Authority, working with the Ministry of Public Works and so, to be able to make sure that roads are completed or filled in and smoothened after the works happen. So I want to thank you all very much. Everybody did not get in their comments. Tracy, I know you're trying, and sometimes when you put a woman in front, things happen. So I'm sure that you and Miss Tracy Reed is who is acting as the supervisor at Bagatelle now, and she will tell you her ears are always being burnt. Morning, evening, noon, and night WhatsApp, because she tries to facilitate, and then she links up with the authorities. And I'm extremely, stand up, Tracy, and let them see you. A woman can do it. I did it. You can do it. Prime Minister is doing it. And she works really very hard with her team. And somebody talked earlier about the ASH program. And the persons, I think it was Bishop Eugene, and the excellent work most of them have done. And you know, in everything, sometimes you want to get 100%, but sometimes you can only get 98. The 2% will lag behind. It is an excellent project that the people of Barbados across the length and breadth of Barbados have had. And I believe that those persons, especially the ones who work really hard, they will get a chance, and we're going to work with the other ones who are a little delinquent because of how things happen in the country. And therefore, let me thank you, Madam Prime Minister, for the efforts. Barbadians are happy under your leadership. We know that the future is going to be safe for us. Everything cannot happen at the same time. I am glad that this kind of activity has taken place, so you don't hear it from me now, because people say that's politics. And they will say that. Now you've heard it, and you've heard the facts coming through about the costs and the plans and the synergies with one agency and the other. That, for me, will help to cement the seriousness as to how we take our roles as leaders. And when we do it, others will follow us, and the young people need the good examples. And therefore, I want to thank all of you, those who are from St. Thomas, those who are not, those who are viewing it online, and so on and so forth. We will continue to work assiduously to let whatever is done trickle down to the benefit of all Barbadians. And so I thank the agriculturalist par excellence, Mr. Gibbs, for coming in and helping to share and talking about the bees and the honey. And so those are ideas that we want. Yes, Patsy, we heard you about the areas you identified in Spring Farm and Pori Spring. We heard about Allen View, and they're niggling problems, but we will try to iron them out as best as we can, because at the end of the day, you, the public of Barbados, deserve the best. And this Barbados Labour Party government is going to work hand in hand with you. All isn't going to come the same time, but once we work hand in hand, the benefits will trickle down to you. I thank you sincerely for all you have said, all you have done, and how you continue to work with us to let us know this is happening, that is happening, we are happy, we are unhappy, and however we can ease the challenges, we will want to do that. I know that Gail Waith was here. I know that we are Christian people. Bishop Eugene, you are here. I am not going to close tonight. When we have had one of the biggest meetings in Barbados thus far, I want for us to close with a word of prayer, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. On behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister, ma'am, you wanted to say, you have a parting word? On behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister, and acknowledging that we were in Parliament today, and we opened Jukes today. We are tired, you are tired, but we thank you sincerely for all the good that you are doing. Bishop, please. Don't walk away. God is still in control. Thank you.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we want to thank you. We want to praise you. We want to bless your name for such an arrangement. We have sat and have listened to everything that have said and done. We want to commend the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for such a good job on trying to help this country to go forward. We bless your name for giving them health and strength, Lord, to do the work that they have called to do. We want to thank you for everyone who come and make this meeting a success. I pray, Lord God of heaven, you will take us home to our home in peace and in safety. Cover us under your blood. Protect us, shield us from accidents seen and unseen. When we get home, we will be capable enough to thank you for doing it. Bless everyone. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen and amen.
All of you go safety, and those
Thank you,
who don't
and God
have a
bless
car,
everyone.
give somebody a ride to get them home in safety.